You're listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Learn more at wearelibertarians.com.
Couldn't hit the post. Welcome to the Boss Hog of Liberty podcast. This is episode number 113 of East Central Indiana's favorite podcast. I'm Jeremiah Morrell. Today I'm going to be joined by Dakota Davis and some special guests.
That's right. We have three guests in the house today, and we are going to be talking to all three of them about the big race coming up this Sunday.
Well, God, I hope it's not Monday.
Not Monday. It's Sunday. The Indy 500 in Indianapolis. So we have a few connoisseurs in the house. We even have a yellow shirt in the house. Somebody from the inside of the track talking to us today on our show, the Boss Hog of Liberty. Make sure you stick around to the end because we are going to be handing out our own predictions of who will win the race.
This show is about our lives in rural Indiana. We're here to push your boundaries and make you think as individuals. Sometimes we'll provoke you. Other times we'll just make you laugh. Hopefully, you will always learn something new. Like Dakota's finally going to learn to appreciate the Indianapolis 500. This is not going to be the hour and a half of pure torture that it was last year.
You guys tried last year.
You had committed to something last year, and then and you shamefully didn't go.
Yes, that's correct.
Now, the word on the street is producer Guffey has an extra ticket, and he's still looking for you to join him.
I think Chris has got this. He's got it. He can handle it.
If not, I'm going to have a seat beside me that I can stretch out in.
Yeah, you'll have a seat for your cooler.
Or a drunk person can slowly move into as the race goes on.
Sounds great.
Defend your territory, man. All right, so we do want to thank everybody that helps us out on the Patreon side. Chris Bilbrey, Brant Spicer, Christy Avery, John Phillips, Craig DaCosta. Those guys all contribute at $50 or more a month, and we appreciate that very much. If you do join the Patreon, you get special bonus content. We just recorded about 15 minutes explaining why you don't get a live video tonight, and instead you get a beautiful high-definition video posted later. And there's nothing live right now because we're pretty well working on dial-up internet around this place. We're on net zero, I think, right now. It's pretty much what it is. So join the Patreon, patreon.com/Boss Hog of Liberty at any level. And you get to hear the inside story, and you also get into a cool Facebook group where you get the show notes in advance and other bonus content. It's we don't promise anything, but we over deliver, and there's always something. Mm-hmm. Always something.
Always under promise and over deliver. If you don't want to join the Patreon, then you can still support the show in many different ways. We have an Amazon wish list that contains all of the equipment upgrades that we are wanting to get for the show. Awesome people have popped on there and they have bought us stuff, sent us stuff, and pretty much that's how our entire operation has been furnished. So thank you to everyone that gets on there. We also have merchandise stores at tchip.com/BHOL1, 2, and 3. And then we do have a GoFundMe going right now for the some more equipment upgrades. We were wanting to get 3 different cameras so that we can change up our entire live stream platform, and it can be very professionally produced and
the fine folks at Mevo
experience.
keep accelerating that.
They do
accelerating that on the docket. All right, so with us right now at the table, we have room for 4. So we're gonna have for just a minute we're gonna have Matt. Is it Pfeiffer? Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
Matt Pfeiffer is with us, and Zach Burcham is here as well, the Patreon member and Indy 500 expert. And then we'll be joined in a few moments by Mike McKown again, who you heard from last year, photographer and old-timer at the track, and very, very knowledgeable. But since Matt's going to be the one that'll cycle out and has somewhere else to go here in a little while, we're going to talk to you. You are wearing a very, very bright shirt today. What's that all about?
Well, it's actually quite stunning. You know, everybody sees me and they're like, "Oh, it's a yellow shirt." So it's a good experience. I work at the track. They put me anywhere they decide to each day. You know, I never know in advance usually. Every day you can be in the garage areas. You could be out doing parking. You could be up in the suites, helping the mayor out and really important people that come to the track every day. Then they got me on like questions and answers. So it's really an experience. It's through a college. So it's a college internship. So they rotate you out to each spot.
So you're Ball State student right now, and
Correct.
you're in a college internship program with the track.
Yes, correct.
So they've got you. The yellow shirts, for folks that don't know or aren't in the area, the yellow shirts are the people with the whistles at the track.
Yep. Unfortunately, I think I might need to buy my own because I've been doing parking a lot lately, and people just aren't listening to me. So
they don't furnish you a whistle
not
when you
me.
get a yellow
The
shirt.
important people they do, but I was unfortunate. They haven't given one out to me yet. So they'll probably think I'm afraid to lose it or something. I don't know. These young kids.
That's a sad
The
story.
old timers get it. Yeah, the old timers get it. I'm pretty jealous.
Got to earn some respect.
Yes,
You
I
gotta-
think that's what it is. I think
earn
that's
the
what it is.
whistle.
Maybe it's a 2-year thing.
At a racetrack, a rookie wears a yellow stripe, but since you're on the safety patrol wearing the yellow, I don't know if do they put another stripe on there to show that you're first year?
No. So I know it's hat coded. So like brown hats, white hats, and then yellow hats. So usually I see the white hats and yellow hats with more of the whistles versus the brown hats.
So the brown hat is a first year guy.
Yes,
a yellow hat is like
the
a
most simple guy on the totem pole. So
a yellow guy knew Mr. Holman or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, brown is a pretty boring color.
it is.
so-
It is super boring.
You need to get one of those
unfortunate.
cool safari hats that they have. Have you seen the yellow shirts with they have like these hard safari hats. They're like this big and they're hilarious.
I've seen a few people on the track wearing something like that.
I have a 20-inch brimmed straw hat.
Okay.
I can let you borrow.
Okay, you know what? I might need that. This Friday is supposed to be hit 89 degrees. So
you've worked out there. I saw you the day of the Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
You were working pit road security
Yes.
or garage security.
yes, correct.
And
That's
you
right.
you interacted with one of the drivers.
Yes, Pippa Man. Yep. She was not happy with me after I interacted with her. I don't give no favors, and they told me to check every bag. So I was like, "Ma'am, can I check your bag?" She was wearing these expensive clothes. She wasn't wearing a driver's uniform. I had no idea who she was, and she's like, "I'm a driver," and I was like, "Ma'am, can I check your bag?"
I
don't
drove here.
care.
I drove here too. Let me look at your cooler.
Yep.
I'm a
So-
driver. Yeah, and I'm the Pope. Come on, lady. Let me see the bag.
There's a guy that
Yep,
always
it was-
watches Gasoline Alley, and there's keep people behind the lines because that's where the cars roll through. And this guy just yells behind the line. I'll sit there and watch him on carb day for like an hour because it's just hilarious. And he was yelling at a woman to get behind the line, and she looked at him and was like, "That's actually Judd." And she was at the time married to Dario Franchitti,
the 3-time winner.
Yeah, 3-time winner, and she doesn't have to get behind the line. And somebody said, "You know who that is?" And he's just laughing at himself. But yeah, he was yelling at the wrong person. So
That's got to be embarrassing.
She's staff. They'll yell at anybody. They'll yell at Mike Pence, Greg Pence.
it doesn't
they don't
matter.
care.
Doug Bowles will probably get yelled at out there.
Policy's policy. So yeah, he's always busy. It's a great experience because you get to go behind the scenes where nobody else does. So you can go up to pit row. You don't need one of them yellow passes and garages. You can pretty much go wherever.
You can just go on
Do you,
the road, huh?
Yes.
Do you have a good cop voice figured out? Like, listen, sir, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them.
Well, I've only had to use that a few times, so I don't bring it out too many times. Just because I'm afraid that Doug Bowles might find out and give me the boot. So
He's the president of the track.
yes, correct.
So have you enjoyed it? It's been a good experience.
It has been.
Have you
It's a
learned-
learning experience. Yeah.
Did you know anything about the track before you got into this?
I've
thing?
never been to the track before, so this is my first year, first experience. A big track, very giant. There's still places I didn't even know existed.
There's a golf course there, right?
Yes, on the far side of the track. But I just learned a few days ago that there's a place underneath the pagoda where they take like important people, they drive up to there so the people can get out, so the public doesn't have to see them. And I had no idea that little garage area existed where you can just pull a van in real fast. And
So if
everybody
we
jumps
went there,
out.
then we would probably need to use that
If you're,
spot.
if you're
Probably,
really,
you guys are really important.
if
so.
you're really, really important, they like when the vice president came to the race last year. He just stayed in turn 2 the whole time in the VIP suites. They landed him out at the out on the golf course in the helicopter, and then he went in the suites. So I think he made a lap around the track.
that is very
before the race
important
last-
parking.
Yes,
Yeah.
very important. Yep, it sounds like it.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. I haven't ventured too much out in turn 2. I've only been like turn 3 and 4 and 1. I haven't ventured out too far.
So do you have an
That way, though.
expectation where you'll be on race day yet?
No, I have no. It's. I have to be there at 4 a.m. in the morning. So I'm really just praying it's somewhere out of the sun and somewhere nice. So
I hope you get to hang out in turn 3 and
Yes.
really meet the people.
I turn 3. I don't know.
Put you next to the snake turret.
I'm
Turn
interested
3
in carb
infield.
day too. They told me that's the big event. So you're walking over drunks and they're sleeping all over the concrete. So
Carb day, you'll have about 85 to 100,000 people out there, and then on race day, you'll have about 250,000.
The advantage to carb day is that
excited.
there's race people and then there's the drunk party people, and they're not really there at the same time. The race people leave.
They'll pass each other in the balls on the way
Race
through.
day, Everybody's together.
Yep. So I'm
We
excited.
we all get along.
Yep.
All right. So that's cool. That's very exciting. Just wanted, since you're a yellow shirt, I thought this was a good time to bring you on.
Of course, yeah.
But you've also been working on a charity that you've helped, you've been a spokesperson for. You were on Wish TV, Channel 8 the other day.
Of course.
And you're going to do a long form conversation with our friend Chris Bilbrey tomorrow evening, Wednesday, with him on the,
Perception is reality.
Perception is Reality
Yes,
podcast.
correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Telling your story in foster care, but basically right now you're raising awareness in the foster care system.
Yes,
Is
so
that right?
the month of May is foster child awareness. So I've been an advocate for foster kids for the past roughly 5 years. And then here this year, me and some other foster youth advocates in the state, we were like, what can we do to raise awareness in the state? So, the month of May being Foster Child Awareness Month, we came up with a list of 15 different challenges, and then we narrowed it down to just one. I recall you said that you might have participated in this challenge.
I did. So the lovely Sarah Morrell and I have put together 2 outfits, and your goal is you want to get shoes, pants, shirt, everything for $10 or less.
Yes, correct.
And we did barely scrape by,
Okay.
but we may have, and I think this stuff's okay, and we're going to give it to you and we're going to send it away. And you can take a picture if you want to and use it for the awareness.
Of course.
We may have sacrificed fashion just slightly.
Okay. All right.
But Sarah says she didn't sacrifice fashion. I did make some sacrifices to make it happen, but
Okay.
I think it'll work. So Sarah's going to dig around the bag here. If you're a podcast listener, of course, you can come back and find the video that's posted later. Found a pair of pants.
So you did get some pants.
We did get pants.
Okay,
and
great.
they're not ripped. They're drab green.
Good.
Very.
Those are job interview pants.
Those are
Yes, definitely.
You can blend into nature with those things. You go hunting in them. You can do
could.
anything.
And you blend in.
Yeah. The sticker. Yeah.
$2.25.
2 1/4. Yeah, they were $4.49 and they were black. Black color of the week at the Goodwill was black.
Wow,
So
okay.
that was,
Nice.
All right.
that was that. So we'll start a stack in front of Matt here. Perhaps. So Sarah's still digging around here.
We should have worn these clothes. We should have did a fashion show.
Sarah
that
wanted
would've
Sarah
been
wanted to
exciting.
wear them all, and I don't know. So this is a hoodie that I found. This is the fashion sacrifice.
Oh, okay.
It's a
All right.
hoodie. It's brown with pink lettering.
And that's
that
for
says
you?
San Francisco.
Right?
Well, it's for whomever wants to wear it.
All right. All right.
But yeah, it would work. I mean, theoretically, I wouldn't have shame in wearing it.
Okay. All right.
I wear
Listen.
a lot of hoodies.
Roman wear pink.
That's
right?
just regular
That's what they say.
streetwear. We did have the job interview pants, but that's not a job interview sweatshirt.
It depends on the job you want.
Very true. Very true.
I visited San Francisco a couple weeks ago, and I'm telling you that would be a very appropriate thing to wear because it
probably
is cold.
They just got some snow
You,
too.
you
I
need a
think.
hoodie
What?
and then some shoes. They're Nikes, and they're functional.
Okay.
So
Great.
They're good summertime shoes. So we got those. So
Great. And do you know how
We
much
have-
this one spent?
we spent $10.
$10 exactly.
Yeah, right, or just under.
Less. Okay.
I beat the number.
Okay.
I
Great.
probably could have sprung for a not pink shirt,
Great.
but it'll all wear. And now Sarah's digging around. You found what is this?
This is a flannel shirt.
She has a button-down flannel, black and white, checkered shirt,
I'd wear that.
size XL, $4.99 or $4.49, but it was black, so $2.50 or so. 2 1/4. And she's still digging. Another pair of pants. These are gray denim.
Those look like dress pants too. Interview.
They're,
See, Sarah's got an actual job interview outfit.
Okay. Yes. Definitely. Yep.
These are for teenagers, though. The goal is a teenager. I'm pretty sure that
Teenagers can work, Jeremiah.
I'm pretty sure that Mike would hire somebody for his work crew over here wearing what I dressed him in. Yeah, I think somebody could go to work. Doesn't have to be business professional, but I think they could work for Mike. And then some shoes. So, and what was the what was the grand total for your deal, Sarah?
Well, the shoes were kind of under debate. I think we got charged double for the shoes because they
Oh,
were supposed to be
geez.
color of the week as well. So the total for the outfit should be $250, $350. So that's $6-7, and then so like $9.25.
Not bad.
There you go.
Not bad. Okay.
We made it happen. We got there.
Great. The
But it
thing
was-
is, now you don't have any socks for this interview.
There are no
underwear.
socks.
Yep. No undergarments.
I wore ballet flats.
True. True. So that was the point of the challenge is you can't spend a lot on $10, and sometimes that's all foster kids have to spend. So we're trying to raise awareness, get you guys in our shoes for a day. You know, I spend a lot of time in the foster care system, so a lot of people they don't get that experience. So that was our goal in making this challenge, is just getting the challenge for a day. The challenge was accept the challenge of spending $10 on clothes at Goodwill, or donating like $6 to an organization called borrowedheartsfoundation.org. For $6, you can buy a duffel bag of foster kid. So I moved around 8 foster homes in 2 years, and DCS would show up with trash bags. So you put all your things in trash bags, and it makes you feel worthless as a kid. So the campaign was either accept the challenge or donate money to an organization.
So we'll take the picture. Hashtag in their shoes is what we're doing, and we'll provide all the information in the show notes if people want to participate and follow up.
Great. I appreciate you accepting it. So it's awesome. Thanks.
Very cool. We're glad to have you on, man.
Yep,
and then
thanks.
I know you've got an interesting story, and people can watch the Perception is Reality podcast later this week.
Yep, definitely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, man.
Thanks, Matt.
All right, so now we'll do a little flying lead change here, and we will bring in Mike McKown. Mike is the Mike looks like he works for Team Andretti today.
No.
You're the old timer at the track. I assume you were on Andretti's pit crew with Granatelli?
No, I wasn't.
Did you go to that race?
I was with Newman Haas in the early '90s, and had Nigel and
on the Texaco Haviland team.
Yeah, the Texaco Haviland and Paul Newman and
Kmart.
Yeah, it was a great thing. Dirt Devil, we had a bunch of them.
Absolutely, yeah, it was fun. It was good. It was one of those cars is sitting in the museum right now.
Absolutely,
very cool. All right,
number 6.
So I can get us started here. McLaren misses race.
Yes. Do you know what McLaren is? We'll start with that.
Gonna go with the driver.
Type of car.
Well, yes, McLaren.
The team.
McLaren was a driver. Bruce McLaren. It's all his doing. 45 years ago, a guy named Bruce McLaren started the company, started a race team. He never qualified for Indianapolis, but he did practice there. He was a Formula One driver, and he wound up losing his life. But since then, his team has gone on and became an absolute powerhouse in Formula One, which is the IndyCar is the American open wheel series that travels our circuit and has the Indy 500 as its crown jewel. Formula One has road races or street races all over the world. So they'll have the American Grand Prix, the Italian Grand Prix, so on and so forth.
Right. It's undoubtedly the wealthiest team in all of auto sports.
Yes. People joked that McLaren had more money in their hospitality than some of the teams that made the race had for their entire budget, just for their entertainment. They are hundreds of millions of dollars a year in expenditures for their F1 team. So they came with a guy named Fernando Alonso, who's a 2-time world champion. And 2 years ago, they had an alliance where they had an Andretti car that was badged as McLaren, and they qualified in the Fast 9. Fernando Alonso led a big portion of the race, and Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One driver, said, IndyCar's easy. Anybody can do this, right? And then, Zach, you were observing throughout the month of May, and I think by Tuesday this week, or last week, maybe Wednesday, I think I had a tweet read on the Trackside podcast or the Trackside show saying, starting to get nervous. And you could kind of see this coming.
Yeah, I even went to the open test in April, the oval test, and they had issues there. It took him, I don't think he didn't get out to the very end of the day, and they didn't know what the problem was. So some electrical issue. He got out to about halfway through one turn, and the car just died. So, yeah, they were having issues.
Well, full disclosure, they spent almost 3 weeks trying to get the color of the car, right?
So that's that's what's come out in the last, about 4:00 on Monday afternoon, in the fallout of this team missing the race. They had the 34th fastest time. The top 33 make the race. There was a story by Jenna Fryer of the Associated Press that was as damning as anything I have ever seen in print. And it was all coming from the guy that runs or is in charge of McLaren, a guy named Zach Brown, who's from Indianapolis. And basically it was like a list of the comedy of errors of everything that went terribly wrong.
And it's not only like a long list, a dumbfounding list of things that they forgot to do or didn't do or screwed up on.
So the first thing on the list of stuff that they screwed up is they didn't have a steering wheel, Mike.
They had a steering wheel. They didn't have the proper steering wheel.
The initial report was they didn't have one, and Zach Brown had to track one down from Cosworth like a week before the Texas test. And this is a company that would, for the Formula One race, make their own steering wheel.
Yeah.
From scratch.
And you could actually make your own. I think you could do whatever you wanted to.
You just had to have the Cosworth electronics in it. Other than that, you could do whatever you wanted.
Yeah, it could just be an emoji with Cosworth electronics in it if you wanted to. And then other things, the other horrifying thing, or one of the other horrifying things, they borrowed a setup on the second day of qualifying, and it apparently came over from Team Penske, and it came in imperial numbers, and they're a European team, so it was all in metric. So they screwed it up, and then they went out, and the car is dragging.
It was throwing flames out the back from the skid plates hitting.
Thing is bottoming out, Dakota. And that happens sometimes, like at a real high speed banked oval like Texas or somewhere along those lines on a full fuel tank run. That can happen, but this was far beyond anything
they
that's
stick
okay.
just enough gas in the car for a qualification run to go 13 miles or whatever, to get the warm up laps and then get the 4 laps in. And they were late getting out when they found out that the car was.
Yeah, they didn't know what time practice was, apparently.
Yeah.
They screwed up the time practice was. And this is literally the most advanced.
It's because they're spending so much money partying.
Oh, it was ugly. They had all kinds of names associated with the team, but it didn't seem like they ever had their act together with staff and knowing what was going on. They had Gilles de Ferran, who had a title, who is a former Indy 500 winner. They had Bob, I don't remember the guy's name now.
Bobby Newport.
Bobby Newport, who ran Force India, the F1 team, and they wound up. He was in charge. He was like above Gilles de Ferran. Gilles was manager of something, and then this guy was in charge of all of the making the trains run on time, essentially.
Sunday morning when I saw Zach, and they were not happy people trying to get ready to go out to qualify. I saw Scott Goodyear, Johnny Rutherford. Who else was there?
Scott Goodyear was spotting for them. Johnny Rutherford was in the Al Unser Jr. role of team cheerleader.
Yeah, he's kind of affiliated.
They had a lot of power in that room to not make it.
They had Andy Brown, who was an Indy 500 winning engineer for a number of teams for Ganassi and others before that. Lots and lots of people that should have been able to put together. It didn't happen. And then they built 2 cars. They had an alliance with a team called Carlin Racing. That's a very new team that's based in Europe.
A well-established European team, though. They're big feeder series.
Yes. Carlin built them a car, and they built their own car. They had a crash earlier in the week. So the McLaren prepared car got crashed. They wanted to use the Carlin prepared car, but it was the wrong color, Zach.
Yeah, apparently it was the wrong color. They knew it was the wrong color when they ran that car in Texas so a month and a half before. And they knew it was the wrong color then. And so apparently it was just sitting at a paint shop 30 minutes from the track. The tub was. And they decided, we need to make it the right color. And they took a whole day of practice, which was.
You only have 4 days to practice before qualifying.
So they took 25% of their practice time to make sure the car was the right color after they lost most of the day before with the car being torn apart. Yeah.
And full disclosure, Carlin had 4 cars there, and only one of them got in the show.
Yeah.
So the alliance was no way near what it was when it was with Andretti Autosport, and there was obviously a huge problem.
Well, depending on who you talk to, they weren't actually getting anything from Carlin. They would people would say, well, are you going to lean on Carlin? Like, no, we're going to do this on our own. We're doing our own. And the only help they were supposed to be getting from Carlin was like logistical support. Like, these are the things you need. Maybe like a steering wheel, but that didn't work out for him. But it was like Carlin put a car together and said, this is what you need to buy. I know one of the issues that people have with Indy cars that you don't just buy a car and here's a car delivered to you rolling. It's
you are given a tub.
You get a tub,
and then
you have to go make your dampers or buy them from somebody here. Go buy your uprights here. Go buy your rims, your brakes. All that stuff is all pieced together, and you have to figure out who to call. And so they were probably getting that kind of logistical support from Carlin, but they weren't supposed to be getting like setup information from them because they're supposed to be doing it on their own.
And that was a part of the goal that the team McLaren had was they were going to build over time. They didn't really expect to be at the absolute stud level of a Roger Penske or Andretti or Ganassi this year, but they expected to be competent, and they just weren't. So there were lots and lots of signs, and the way qualifying worked at the Speedway this year, where you had Saturday was the first 30 positions in the race were filled. So if you got in the top 30 fastest times, you were in. And then the following day, you would have the remaining 6 cars or entries that showed up would have to go for 3 spots.
One time only.
And you get one run, yeah. So it was do or die. You had to perform. And we've talked about this McLaren team, this massive budget, huge team, Dakota. And there were 3 teams that were like complete and utter underdogs that made it. Clausen Marshall, which is a USAC based team, which is the open wheel local series, travels around the Midwest, very much like the highest end top performing team in that series. But they qualified 30th. They had never run before. They had a technical alliance with another team that was on the back end of the field with the Foyt team, with a driver who missed the race the year before, Pippa Mann, who if you were listening a minute ago, you heard Pippa's voice or Pippa's name from Matt. They made the race and got 30th spot. So they ran faster on the first day and were locked in. Good to go.
Full disclosure, from the day she missed the Indianapolis 500, I don't think there was a day that went out that she didn't have a social media post trying to get back.
Pippa is a great asset to the sport. She's a great social media. She's great with fans. Really not with yellow shirts searching her bags, but but if you bump into her, she'll post up on Twitter when she's at the track. I've got 10 minutes. Meet me at the fence, and she'll go out to the fence and sign autographs. And she's really popular. So it was good to see her out there and doing well. But yeah, that's a small team. It was the first time they'd done the Indy 500.
It's their first race.
Yeah.
So a year ago, she was in tears, crying that she, in just absolute dejection that she missed. Her car just didn't have the speed. And this year, she's crying on TV in joy. Another tiny little team, a group called Dragon Speed, who I'm guessing that most people don't even know who they are.
That car is cool.
Or what? It's like Evel Knievel.
Absolutely.
They even stick the advanced frontal protection device. There's a thing that's right in front of the driver to keep them, hopefully, from taking that thing they had. When they roll that car in and out of the garage area, they stick an Evel Knievel bobblehead on top of it, so it's bobbleheading through the gasoline alley. So yeah, they embraced the Evel Knievel. Nice
job.
So he's about a 35-year-old guy who they're a European racing team. They do the WEC, which is the
World Endurance Championship.
They're an established team over there, but they just started with Indy cars this year. I think this is their third race, maybe second or third race. They had trouble because they're based in Europe. They couldn't get their crew over here. Only about 4 guys that are associated with the team actually made it to the United States, and everybody else has been a ragtag group of people that picked up over here. And they made the race.
They picked up some guys.
They made the race.
Some guys, yes.
So they found the speed, same Chevrolet engine that the McLaren had,
and no technical alliance,
and no help whatsoever. Yeah. You looked at the list of 36 cars, and 3 were going home, and I would say damn near everybody said, "Yeah, this group's not going to make it."
I heard multiple interviews with their owner, and he said, "Yeah, we're probably going to be the ones going home. We know that when we showed up here." I think they even mentioned they had less guys in their crew than McLaren had on their pit box. like McLaren just has more people looking at computer monitors than this team had, period.
On the payroll.
Car, yeah.
You're not going to see a Ben Hangley merchandise tent anywhere over at the track. I'd buy a shirt.
Evidently, I'd like to see him at the NCMP because evidently he's a go-kart. He's like one of the best go-kart drivers in the world. And they say if you want to be like the top of the level, you have to beat him in go-karts. But yeah, and they were just, their goal the whole week was just, we just got to try and qualify. We just have to try and qualify. They didn't work on any race setup. I heard an interview with him. He said, we just went out there in the worst conditions. Every time everybody else would come in because the wind was bad, he's like, that's when we went out because we just knew we had to be able to survive whatever happened over the weekend.
So another underdog team, you talked about go-karts, and this is basically the Juncos Racing go-kart team. They started as a go-kart team. The guy that came over from Brazil, Ricardo Juncos, came to the United States with $400 that he borrowed from his grandmother.
And had to pay her back.
She
wanted money back.
With interest.
He comes here with no job, doesn't know the language, and literally is a go-kart mechanic, gets a job within a week, and builds that in the last 10 to 15 years into a go-kart team with Spencer Piggott, by the way, who made the Fast 9. He then continues up the ladder series and becomes a feeder series team with their classic green, white, and orange livery that everybody's used to seeing for a Juncos car. And 3 years ago, they came to Indianapolis. They had a sponsorship of a scholarship, essentially, and they came with Kyle Kaiser, and they made the Indy 500, and I think they had one other driver. This year, they came to the track, and they had a completely white car, which is
They lost all their sponsorship in the like 10 days before the race.
They had nothing. So completely blank, no backing. And you're just looking at it going, this team is dead. They are not going to make this race. They're going to spend the money to be here. They're not going to be able to pay for their lease. They're not going to be able to pay for their tire bill. They're going to be, this is the last time we're going to see Juncos in the IndyCar series. That's you just look at it and this does not look good.
Yeah,
then they crashed.
Yeah, they lost one sponsor and they said, okay, we figured it out. We got another sponsor. And then they announced, okay, we're here. And the other sponsor was like, no, we're not going to give you any money either.
And they were running really fast with this car. So they
qualified like 17th last year.
Yeah. And they had a brand new car this year. It was well set up and they were like, everybody's like, this Juncos car is going to make the race. They're going to make the race. Kaiser's fast. And then he screwed up, lost it. Ricardo said, I want to basically, in a private moment, said, I just want to kick his ass, like, because he crashed my car. And then the team, that was Friday of this week?
Can't remember. I think Thursday.
I think it was Thursday. It was Thursday. And they got the car put back together and they were on the track Friday morning.
No, they didn't get that car put back together.
Well, they had a backup car,
a road course car.
The classic livery, the green, white, and orange livery. But it didn't have the advanced frontal protection piece. It had all these bits that it was missing. It didn't have the parts that make it go fast. These Indy cars at Indianapolis, Dakota they are worried about every minute amount of drag they can take out of it. So even the gearbox in the car, the transmission, they run special parts that allow it to roll more freely. They crashed that transmission. It was gone. It was a total loss. So and that's worth about a mile or two an hour.
But yeah, they sand the body down. They cover up every little seam, every little thing. Yeah, and they say it's like a mile to a mile and a half an hour for the lap.
No stickers. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that's why, they paint.
Well, that's why they're so fast. They didn't have any stickers on the last car.
Yeah. they said on the second one, on this backup, you could even see the sponsors from previous, like they just sanded them off.
So with the sponsors though, what happens to like the McLaren team? Because they obviously had a bunch of sponsors because it was such a big name.
That'll be a big question.
We'll know Friday. I mean, there's going to be some guys that don't have sponsorship that will now have sponsorship dollars because of people that didn't make the race.
But does the McLaren team lose all that money? Or is it like a no refunds policy?
It's whatever McLaren worked out with that company.
Yeah, it's individual.
Yeah, you own the team. So if Dakota Davis Racing showed up at a track and you had sponsorship from, we'll say from Verizon, if your contract with Verizon says, sorry, we're keeping the money, you didn't make the race and we can go sponsor somebody else. Now you're really screwed. And that's where you're worried about a team that, if they didn't make the race, they had to make that race. And we'll get into that. There's some interesting, there's interesting things about full-time teams and guarantees and issues there. But there's no law, there's no rule. It's whatever contract or agreement that you have.
If nothing else, they might try to give them some favoritism with the Formula One side of the contract and give them a little more exposure on that side to make up for it. That's a deal that they could work out with them. It's probably like, we'll make your logo 25% bigger for the Monaco Grand Prix or something. So
the McLaren team had completely sold every spot of that car they could. Commercially, they had sold every sponsorship that was possible.
It was a profitable venture.
Before they turned a lap, they were going to make money on that. Plus, they had a merchandise tent that was on par with anybody else, and everybody's buying the McLaren stuff. This guy is the Michael Jordan. I don't know would you describe him? The Tiger Woods of international racing. I mean, he moves the needle. Yeah, Fernando Alonso.
Absolutely. And I think he made a really class move because even though he didn't make it, he got on a golf cart and he left. He didn't publicly deface himself or his team in any way, shape, or form. And then rumor mill was going, will they buy their way into the race?
It's been done many times before.
I watched Bruno Shakira cry because he didn't get to run in a car that
because
he was supposed
DHL
to.
had to have a car and Ryan Hunter-Reay drove it.
And they put him in.
And I've heard that Fernando actually shot that down.
Yes,
that was
Fernando is the one.
Because his whole goal is to win the Triple Crown. He's won the Monaco Grand Prix. He won Le Mans this last year. And then he wants to win the Indy 500. But he knows if he wins, potentially he wouldn't win with that car. But if he could win with a bought ride, that would be tainted. So he doesn't really want to do that. He wants to win it qualifying.
And the ride in question, the rumor mill has been all day that it was Oriol Servia, who shows up and just puts a pedal down and runs.
Servia is
Servia was not going to get to ride in the car if they bought it out, and Fernando said no. Said Servia deserves to be in it. He drove.
Yeah,
This
you
is one of
can't
those
toss
little-
the other Spaniard.
This one's a little asterisk, though. That's a Honda car. And I didn't
Right.
understand how he's going
I
to buy
didn't
the way
either.
into a Honda car.
I didn't either. I didn't get that.
Those are the finer points that get worked out later. So we were talking about Juncos making this race, and we talked about how McLaren, they wouldn't show a car that wasn't their color orange, right? Like they were worried about it being papaya orange.
Yeah, the right shade of papaya. Yes.
Juncos shows up in a car that they've got old sponsors on, and if you look at the advanced frontal protection device,
they've sanded around
it wasn't on the thing. You can literally see that it was down to bare fiberglass or whatever the heck, or carbon fiber.
Carbon fiber.
And you can see where they've attached it on there. It's not painted. It's nothing. They just want to get on track. They know that they're experienced enough to know what they have to have and don't have to have. And they didn't let vanity get in the way.
It'll be pretty on race day.
Yeah. Cause it'll be in the race, right?
Day. Yeah.
So
Strip it down just to the carbon fiber.
I mean, by comparison, Hinch wrecked on Saturday morning.
I think there were 5 crashes,
And
five significant crashes.
He was in
this
his
month.
backup, 4 hours later?
Yeah.
Something
Close to speed.
Something obnoxious. Like
Yeah.
the same day his backup was running. And
Juncos was 2 days.
all the other wrecks, it was like the next day.
Juncos
Next
was in the
morning,
next
they're ready to
morning.
go. And he wrecked later in the afternoon. Rosenquist was the same way. All had their cars ready the next day. And they all left like, I think I heard that Chip Ganassi got done at like 12:30 getting Rosenquist's car ready. McLaren, they wrecked at 12:30. They stayed up till 2:30 in the morning prepping the car and still didn't have it ready the whole next day.
Yeah. It was alarmingly bad.
And I literally was walking through the trailers, the haulers back there, and there is a Ford pickup that pulls up, and they're taking parts out of the back of a Ford pickup for Juncos Racing, putting this car together. I mean, there was a cutaway wheel that had probably been in the showroom of Delara or something. They were just literally scrounging to get the
I
parts.
heard that they had some other teams even chipped in and like gave them some, or, made some stuff available to them to get the car built.
So here's the thing, Dakota, that I don't know if people understand, and you probably have no concept, that you can have IndyCar teams have like maybe 2 to 3 cars for, Carlin, I think, has 3 cars for a 2-car operation. So you might have a backup car, but it isn't made for the super speedway. So it's made for a road course, and it doesn't have the perfect body fit that an oval car does. But you're also only allowed 1 engine at a time for your entry. So if you have car number 32 and you crash car 32, you may have a T car, which is 32T or 32 test or whatever it is, but it doesn't have an engine sitting in it. So it's not like you can just fire it up and take it out on the track. You have to take the engine out of the crashed car or demonstrate to the engine company that, no, that engine's trashed and we got to move it over. So it takes a few hours if you're an absolute badass team to move everything over.
And the engine's part of the chassis. It's a stressed, they call it a stressed member, which means the car only goes so far. And then the engine's bolted to the back
structural.
of that. And then everything off the back of that, the suspension, the transmission is all hanging off the engine. There's
the whole rear axle.
It's what connects the back of the car to the front of the car is the engine.
It is the spine.
So without the motor, it's just the front half of a car waiting for the rest of it to get bolted to it. So you can't have without the engine, you can't have a second car ready to go.
Yeah. So it's a thrash. Anytime this happens, you're screwed. So we're setting the stage for Sunday, the qualifying day. Juncos is on the outside. They didn't make it. McLaren did not make it. There are 2 cars for this Carlin team we're talking about. A guy named Max Chilton, who's been very good at the track. He finished 4th once upon a time. And then a young Mexican driver named Pato Award, who's driving for the Carlin team. He's got a scholarship, so his car is painted up like Mexico normally. and it's basically the Road to Indy sponsored him. He was the champion of the junior series. He also crashed during the week. They got him back on track, but he didn't have the speed. And then the surprise in this group, or one of the surprises in this group, was a guy named James Hinchcliffe. We covered his story last year. James Hinchcliffe missed the race because they had a series of issues and with the rules that were there at the time. He basically didn't go out again, missed the deadline, and didn't get to go. On Saturday of this race, James crashed on qualifying day. During his attempt, second lap, crashed the car on his first attempt on Saturday morning.
And didn't just crash it. He destroyed it.
They had to go to a backup car. Yes. It was done.
Yeah, I think they, in one of the group chats that we're in, you sent a video of that.
Yeah, it was significant.
When you sent a picture of like 4 of the accidents looked exactly the same at one point. The cars were almost inverted.
Yeah.
Luckily, there's some holes in the floor that keep them from going over because a few years ago, they were going over routinely. Yeah, and all of them were like left front wheel tucked under and the thing's about to tip over. And there's I think it was Rosenquist and Hinchcliffe and Kaiser's car all about the same.
Yeah, similar. I think maybe it was Pato Award. But yeah, John Orovitz formerly of ESPN.com had put that together, and I shared it from my Facebook page. So that set the stage. And then the sixth car that just didn't have any speed was a guy named Sage Karam,
who had also kissed the wall the day before.
He had touched the wall a little bit, and I was watching remotely because I was not in Indy. I was watching the NBC Gold coverage, and that dude has been at the track 6 times. He's your age, Dakota. He's 24 years old. He's run this will be his 6th Indy 500. Just total, like, cocky as you can get. Cocky guy. He was as spooked as anybody I've ever seen.
He thought something was wrong with the car.
Yeah. And he thought he was going to get himself
They had to stick his teammate in the car, who's a cool operator, comparatively speaking. He got in the car, he's like, there's nothing wrong with the car.
You can go flat out.
He swore that there was something wrong with the car, and
was it just like a hunch?
It's
just like, I don't know, man. There's something about this car.
It's cursed.
Well, when they're qualifying, they take so much downforce off the car that the rear wing is literally pointed up. It's lifting because most of the downforce comes off the actual floor of the car, and so they're trimmed out to the point where they say it's not really fun to be qualifying. Because I think I heard, it was Colton Herta saying that he's like, his butt told him every time that the rear end was going to come around, and it just didn't come around. He's like, you just take as much downforce off the car as possible. So he just probably felt like it, you kissed the wall and it's probably was understeer or something was happening. Didn't want to turn or it turned too much, and he did not like the way it felt. So he just thought something, he said it didn't feel like it did last year, and they said it was unpredictable at times.
Understeer.
And a 20-mile-an-hour headwind. Let's add that.
Yeah, you're driving a fighter jet essentially in the wind. The wind affects you. Oversteer, you don't see the wreck. Understeer, you do. You drive straight into the wall, or the car switches around and you back into it.
It depends which side of the car you want to hit the wall.
Yeah, if you want to hit it with the left side, have some oversteer. And that's what most of them had, is that they turned around. They didn't just
Dakota. This ain't NASCAR, baby.
It's not pushing her loose.
Think about whenever we did the go-karts and how freaking hard it was to steer those things around sharp corners. And can't even imagine.
And similarly speaking, Indy cars don't have power steering either.
Yeah.
That's one of the big kind of challenges to those cars, is that they don't have any power steering.
So you're pushing 240 miles an hour at the end of a straightaway.
And you add about 50 horse of boost the day before.
Yeah. So Friday and Saturday and Sunday, you have a motor that can all of a sudden go, it's an extra 3 or 4 miles an hour. So they were running the incredibly tight speeds. The fastest cars' average laps were in the 230 mile an hour range. To make the race, you had to run a 227 mile an hour lap average.
Now let's take this kid that's spooked. He's completely spooked, and he goes out and sets the fastest lap in qualifying the next day.
Yeah. So then we get to Sunday morning, and Hinchcliffe was the first one to go out, and he ran a very solid number. Then you thought, okay, yeah, he's probably okay. And then Karam went out and he passed Hinch, and he's good. And then I think McLaren's car was, or maybe the Carlin car, couple of cars.
They both went unsuccessful.
The Carlin cars went out, and Chilton got bumped. Pato never got in. He was like 4th. Yeah. And then we saw McLaren run, and they had struggled. We talked about Sunday morning. They screwed up the practice time. They dragged the skid plate. They had some friends in the garage area that helped them out with some technology, and they found about 1.5 miles an hour. So they got to a 227.
And was a pretty solid run. I mean, for where he had been.
And the Juncos car did not go out Sunday morning. They did not go on the track.
Never left the garage.
They were still working on the car because they had the crash car and they got it put together and they made some runs, but they were still doing the thing Zach talked about of massaging it and working on it and trying to get it ready.
They said they were actually hoping for rain. They wanted another day.
They wanted a whole other
car.
day to dink with it. Yeah, they would have preferred about a Tuesday or Wednesday. So McLaren's sitting at 33rd, and Kyle Kaiser, young American driver for the All-American Story team. The cars are prepared at Juncos' shop in Speedway, just outside of Turn 1. And you think, they're not going to have a chance. They go, Kaiser, and every lap Kaiser runs is just a tick higher than the McLaren lap. Just razor edge. Barely makes it. So I've got some audio ready. Guffey has some audio ready for us. This is the team audio of Kyle Kaiser talking to his engineers as the checkered flag falls.
Checker flag, checker flag.
Did we make it?
We made it, Bill, we made it!
Yes! Yeah, guys! Oh my God! Awesome job, guys! Oh my God!
Amazing, that was amazing!
Thank you guys so much! It was amazing, guys! Thank you so much!
He's crying.
Thank you.
He said he had a hard time getting the car back in the pits. He was having a hard time
You
seeing
guys
it.
are unbelievable. I can't believe what you guys have done. This is absolutely the greatest story of my life. Thank you so much.
That was Kyle Kaiser. So the guys did about 40 hours of nonstop sleep, and Juncos says, you guys literally need to go home. You're starting to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes in
They
the
were
car.
nodding off in a meeting.
Yeah, they're falling
Like
asleep.
half the team was
There's-
falling asleep while they were trying to talk to him. So like, go home.
There's
Half of these
pictures-
guys are no longer in their uniforms and wearing jeans and T-shirts.
There's pictures of them laying in the garage on the floor sleeping. I mean, it is heroic what they've done. And they're going to start the Indy 500. They made it. And McLaren, with their ridiculous effort, is going home. So that's where I want to say, okay, the beginning of this month, there were talk of some of these big super teams saying, listen, we show up every week, we show up every time, and we need to be guaranteed a spot in the Indy 500. You know, the Penske's, Ganassis. One of the Carlin cars has run every race, and they're what would have been considered a protected team if we had guaranteed entries in the Indy 500. So we've sold this story to you, Dakota. Do you have do you care at all? Do you have any emotional attachment?
I don't have an emotional attachment, but of course I have an opinion. I don't know. It just seems silly to me. Why
should you be guaranteed
it's like,
because you showed up at every race that you get to go to this one?
It's like the racing version of crony capitalism. Just make it to where I get in no matter what. I'm bigger than everybody else, so I get to play.
Let's add a fun twist. Back 25 years ago,
back in 1996,
there was a split, and part of the split was that the owner of IndyCar at the time said, okay, I'm going to start my own series. I'm going to guarantee my series. Those guys, they'll get guaranteed, I think it's like
25 and 8.
25 guaranteed entries, and all the rest of you guys can fight over the last 8. And the guys who are now demanding guaranteed spots are the ones that left.
That were left because they didn't want to do
They were
that.
guaranteed spots. So they literally went off and like formed, Penske owned Michigan at the time, so they did their own race in Michigan.
They did the US 500 in Michigan on the same day with competing stars and cars from the Indy 500. It was an ugly time in open
But now,
wheel
if you're a race promoter, and you're wanting to get cars involved, Kyle Kaiser, Juncos Racing, they put money they didn't have into cars. Should they not be guaranteed a spot? I don't know. If they're going the full circuit, should they be guaranteed a spot?
Juncos doesn't show up at every race either. They're a part-time team.
But they're working hard to try to be a full-time team. You know, you've got guys like Gallagher sponsored Max Chilton that has been in every race in the series that didn't make the 500. You know, and the guy that they put out the door more or less and said, we're only going to run you 4 or 5 races.
Charlie Kimball,
who is probably the brightest race car driver out there, gets 4 or 5 races a year. And he's the only Carlin car that gets put in the show.
I feel like if Juncos had made it, if they had made it into the race, it would have been made a really good movie. It'd been like a Rocky movie with the guys from Juncos Racing, and they're like getting pushed around by the McLaren guys and in all their big business suits, and they're throwing these $1 million parties on their hospitality teams, and then the underdog of Juncos comes in.
That's what it is. It's the
But that's why I don't want the guaranteed entry. I don't. Have
we
a
wouldn't
dog
be
in
here
the race,
talking
but
about it if it wasn't. If it wasn't the
Guaranteed-
David and Goliath, we wouldn't be sitting here.
right, guaranteed entry would make for a much worse movie, I think.
and McLaren made it because they ran all the races last year. Congratulations, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, by the way, that's what NASCAR does. NASCAR has certain teams that are guaranteed spots because you own the team and you show up at every race, and you are, and it's part of the decline of NASCAR and why they have
nobody watches
a field that holds
everybody
40
watches
people.
the Indy 500 around here.
You can have 40 cars and
Our
38 of them are
child
guaranteed.
is finally growing up.
People
Everybody
decorate their
watches
yards.
the-
My mom and dad have never been to the Indy 500, but they decorate their camper during the month of May because of the Indy 500.
My wife has a checkered flag flying at our house right now. I'll just sure.
Yeah, I mean, just drive around the state. You see checkered flags and American flags next to each other around Memorial Day everywhere. No one does that in Daytona for the Daytona 500. Or, it's like
it's a cultural thing.
Yeah,
here.
it's a big
I even heard
cultural
that
thing here.
from like Dragon interviews, like Ben Hanley and those guys. They said it's insane. They're like, it's raining, and there's people waiting outside my garage for my autograph in the rain. They said they've never seen anything like it before. Like, you guys just hang out here all day. And they said that they've never seen a town and a community that just owns an event like Indianapolis owns. Like, it's one of the funniest things I see every time I go into Speedway. You drive down Georgetown from 34th Street, and the sidewalks are like 20 feet away from the street. And you're like, yeah, so you can park cars between the sidewalk and the street in your yard and not block the sidewalk. Like, they've built the town to be able to handle that. And like, you look at everybody's fenced in backyard has a gate that you can fit a camper through. So you can park people in your backyard.
The local ordinance says you can't have any street parking on race days because they don't want to block you from being able to park people in your yard because they need the yard parking more than they need the street parking. The expectation is if you buy a house in that town, you're going to sell your front yard on race day. $40 a car, everybody.
And probably pay for your property taxes that way.
Yeah.
That's the other best thing. I think I've heard this confirmed. They don't pay property taxes in Speedway. That's part of the deal of living in Speedway. You don't get to complain about the track, but you don't have to pay the taxes for the track. I think the track supports the town on its own.
So we've got a race that's a David and Goliath deal. By the way, that was all about the back end of the race. There's $100,000 bonus for who gets the pole, who qualifies first, and there was a whole thing of the Fast 9. The drama wasn't there nearly as much.
There's $100,000 bonus
if you
to
start
qualify first.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where does the money come from for the awards?
Well, from Gainbridge, I guess, this year.
Yeah.
The Indy 500 presented by Gainbridge. But, I mean, we pay, there's TV revenue, there's track sponsorship, and, of course, the tickets.
There's $45 T-shirts. They've got all sorts of ways to make money.
You can buy Indy 500 flags at Kroger right now.
I don't know if those are entirely licensed property.
You can buy them out of the back of the truck on Georgetown, too. They're really pretty cool.
There's plenty of Indianapolis Motor Speedway merchandise available. Some more legal than others. I'm not sure how legal
they
this is.
They sell a lot of
but it's pretty
stickers
cool.
and T-shirts through the month of May.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the other side of the qualifying story that I wanted to get into before we talk about the actual race and what to expect if you were to attend, like producer Chris will this year, Ed Carpenter Racing, based in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Woohoo!
3 cars in the race, all 3 made the top 9, and they're starting second, third, and fourth. They lost their massive sponsor last year, and they have the Auto Geek Chevrolet? I mean, they have the Preferred Freezer Chevrolet, the WeatherTech Chevy, and the Auto Geek Chevy. Like, they are not PNC Bank.
Right.
It's not Verizon. It's not Shell or Pennzoil. It's AutoGeek.com. They
and
are
still
punching
have
so far.
a crew that worked their butt off and have second, third, and fourth in the show. Had Simon Pagenaud turned just a fraction of a second earlier here or there, they would have owned the entire front row in the Indianapolis 500. Huge shout out to Ed Carpenter Racing.
Ed finished second last year. He was probably the best Indy 500 he's ever driven. Last year, the handling in the race, actually talking to mechanics of the race, and I think this year is going to be very similar. Track position is going to matter a lot, and the way your car handles, especially if it's hot, which we're expecting probably an 80-degree day, 85-degree day on Sunday between the raindrops, it's going to matter. I think Ed's, we'll talk about our picks later, but that's a big deal as well.
I don't think I'd want to be Pagenaud and be surrounded by them. He's got Ed Carpenter Racing behind him. He's got Ed Carpenter Racing the whole front row with him. So he's literally got him surrounded.
Everywhere around him.
Yeah, he's got help.
Dakota has gone and he's checking on the camera. Did you press play? Did you push the button? Is it recording? We still
I
have
can't
battery
remember
left?
this to redo it, guys. I'm 53.
That's just a video. We've
One
got
random stat I heard, I don't know if I didn't check the math on, but somebody said on Alonso getting bumped out that if you ran he and Kyle Kaiser together, that Kyle Kaiser would have beat him by like 2 inches.
That's phenomenal.
Over 10 miles. Yeah.
4 laps around the track. It's not just your best lap.
It was like thousandths of a second.
It's just unbelievable. All right, Guffey, you're going to go with me this time. Why have you not attended an Indy 500 yet? Has it been money? Has it been interest? Has it been, I just can't find a friend? Why wouldn't you be there?
Racing just does not do anything for me.
So we've talked racing the whole time. Now we're going to talk about the human event and the experience.
Now, I will say I'm a people watcher, and I love watching just random people.
You will go every year from now on.
You'll go nuts.
You'll have a year's worth of content. I have spilled a beer. I've spilled what's left of a beer. By the way, that reminds me of another thing that's laying down there on the floor, Mike. If you want to, you're welcome to give me a gift at any time.
Quaff on, man.
Quaff on Brewery. It's a Sato 101 No Attack, No Chance beer.
I was going to say it had to be called No Attack, No Chance.
That's right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's his phrase.
Quaff on.
Takuma Sato beer.
It's not sake though. It's beer.
It's beer.
So Takuma is he won the 101st Indy 500. That's probably why it's Sato 101, right? He won for Andretti Autosport in 2017. I'm a little more difficult. I'm looking at Zach to assure me he's not helping.
That sounds correct.
2012 Indy 500. Sato was going into turn 1 inside of Dario Franchitti and lost it. Crashed the car. Did not win. And everybody thought, well, that was his one chance. And then, son of a gun, he came back with Andretti and won the race. So the last time that Alonso was in the race, he had one of those cars.
They're fast.
Yeah. And we'll see. This time it's who knows.
And his English is much better too.
Yeah, they booked him on talk radio. I've not listened to it yet, but it's in one of my podcast feeds. I think he was on the JMV show. Or
He's
Dan Dockich.
He's pretty interesting to hear in an interview. He's an odd guy, and one of the interesting facts about him is that he has a family. They never come here. They stay in Japan the entire season, and he stays with one of his engineers in a guest room for the season. He doesn't actually have his own place and never has had his own place in the United States, and he's been here for as long as for a decade.
Came with Lotus.
He came with the KV Lotus team probably 2011, 2010, somewhere in that range.
7-8 years he's been here, 9 months out of the year, and
he's just couching it.
Never had his own place. Yeah.
42-year-old man, 44-year-old man.
He doesn't look it though. You'd never guess that. He's such a happy guy.
I would be too. You won the Indy 500. He's put together a hell of a career. He raced Formula One, Takuma Sato, and now he's won Long Beach, Indianapolis.
Just won Portland last year.
He won Portland, and he won somewhere else this year. Wasn't Long Beach this year, was it?
Barber.
He won Barber this year.
Yeah.
So he's won 4 races, and 2 of them are the biggest ones on the circuit. It's phenomenal. Very, very impressive for a guy that always thought, oh, well, he's the token guy that brings the Panasonic money. It's a lot more than that.
He's no King Hero. He's no King Hero.
King Hero. Mm-hmm. Did your mic cut out?
Yes. King Hero.
King Hero. Chase would say it. You could just,
Yeah.
You're loud.
No, I can't say it. I can't say it.
It's after 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Oh, it's not good for business. So,
So we're talking about the front of the field yet?
Yeah, so that was the thing is we got Ed Carpenter put 3 in the top 4. You got the highlighter, the Pagano Menards yellow car out front.
What about number 5?
Number 5.
In the 5th position, you've got Colta Herta, a 19-year-old kid.
It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
19 years old, the youngest winner of an IndyCar race in the history of the series.
He went out,
fastest rookie.
And he went out there and ran again on Saturday just because he thought he could go faster.
Just because he wanted to prove it to himself because he had a little bit, it wasn't that bad. Sage Karam is pissing his pants and Herta wants to pick up a 10th.
Heard somebody ask him about how his relationship with his engineer and like, how does that work out? And he's like, it's great. We're both recklessly irresponsible with modifications to the car. He's like, I told my engineer, like, let's take some more downforce off the car. And his engineer's like, that's not a good idea. He's like, come on, we'll go faster. And the guy's like, okay. He's like, what do I know? I'm a 19-year-old kid that's never raced a 500 before. He just does it anyway.
You know, he was out here at Dismore's go-kart track at NCMP and it was awesome. And he walked up to my 16-year-old son, Blake, and they started talking and, you know, they're talking about Xbox games or something that dad does nothing about, you know, and saw him at the track. You know, he's had hundreds of thousands of people talk to him and interviews and pictures, and he knew exactly who Blake was and went just like his dad, Brian. His dad, Brian, was one of the most personable guys there too. We spoke to them both on Sunday morning and just a great family. You know, Brian
Hertamania
has won everything there is to win. He took a low budget team and won the Indianapolis 500. You know, he's on the box for Marco.
He was the winning strategist for Rossi in 2016
and essentially won that race.
He
was talking Rossi through how to save fuel, like to an extreme degree, and Rossi had never saved fuel before.
Right.
He was brand new. Rossi wasn't the Rossi he is now. Rossi is the absolute stud right now of the series. At that time, he was, maybe he'll stay.
I thought it was just like a loner until he got another Formula 1 ride.
Again, Steinbrenner Harding Racing didn't really have enough money to field both cars, and now he's 5th in line. You know, it's an amazing turn of events.
It's been a phenomenal story. So Harding Steinbrenner Racing was Harding Racing last year, and there was a combination of Mike Harding, who owns an asphalt paving company in Indianapolis, and a guy named, is it George Michael Steinbrenner or George Steinbrenner the fourth?
The fourth, yeah.
Who is the grandson of...
He looks like he's 12.
The grandson of Mr. Steinbrenner of the New York Yankees.
Ah.
So if you watch Seinfeld, Mr. Steinbrenner, that guy, it's his grandson.
Wow.
His dad owns the Yankees now.
I was camped at a different race last year in Ohio, and I was driving around through all the motorhomes, and there's these one black motorhome, one white motorhome, and there's windows are blacked out. I was like, who are these guys? Because they were looked like $500,000 motorhomes, and it just said Steinbrenner on the front. And I was like, oh,
that makes sense.
That's Steinbrenner.
And it's not pinstripes, you know?
No, they did a little bit of pinstriping initially on the livery, but they're trying to get sponsors, so they're trying to get a different livery on there. But yeah, that's Steinbrenner.
And I'm sure there's Andretti help there. You know, I'm sure there's an allegiance there, but the fact that he just came in there, you know,
he can drive, but that's an Andretti car.
That's an Andretti car. You know, and the other Andretti car, Connor Daly. You know, Connor Daly has been in the worst equipment in the series, and now he actually has legitimate equipment. And
he's basically got the Fernando Alonso car from 2017.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's the 5th Andretti car that Townsend Bell drove, that
great livery.
That I guess Justin Wilson had, Carlos Munoz had it for a number of years. It's always been a great car. He's sponsored by the U.S. Air Force.
Yeah, it's great. It's like like an old World War II airplane kind of livery to it.
And that's a kid. That's a kid that has slept on Alexander Rossi's couch for a couple of years. You know, trying to get.
Or Hinches.
Yeah.
He's a Newcastle Motorsports Park guy too. They had a garage. They might still have a garage out there. They had a garage out there for like 10 years. He came up through go-karts with Joseph Newgarden. So
lots and lots of local connections. And he made the news last year. His father was a Formula One driver in racing the IndyCar series, a guy named Derek Daly. And there was a controversy over something that his dad said in the early 80s that was reported by Bob Lamey, recently. Last fall, and Connor wound up losing a sponsorship. He had
Yeah,
the Lilly
I remember
Diabetes
that.
sponsorship. So he pieced his career back together once again. Connor's he's never had a great shake at it. So this year he basically was able to get a ride in the best car or one of the best cars with a great sponsor that he had last year. And we'll see what happens, but it's this big shot.
And Dakota, there's another couple Newcastle connections to that car. You've got Rico Elmore's Fatheads Eyewear that Rico was from Newcastle High School that will be on that car. And last year, there just happened to be a Jack's Donut sticker show up on Connor's helmet. So
we'll see what's there by race day, right?
I remember that.
We'll see what
He's
happens.
usually with the team right before they realize they're doing everything wrong. And then when they right before they clean house for everybody that helps the driver, they just take Connor and wipe him out of the way. At the same
He
time.
was with AJ Foyt Racing, and discovered that he didn't have a job when he got back from promoting the series on the Amazing Race. That kind of sucked for him. He had a year at Dale Coyne Racing, and it just didn't work out again. And then he
basically had a golf cart with fairings on it.
Last year was not good. He did not have the same car as their A and B drivers.
Better than his fueled by bacon car that caught fire before it started the race.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he's
fueled by bacon.
He's had a few starts, but it's never been great. So this is. I'd like to see him make 200 laps. Let's see him make 200 laps and see how far up the grid he can go. I'd love to see him have a chance, but
if he can make 200 laps, he'll be in the like probably close to top 10.
Yeah.
Just by attrition's sake. Yeah.
Finish the race. That'd be goal number one. You want to win, but
you finished first. You first must finish.
That's right. All right. So,
God, I gotta write that down.
Yeah, Rick Mears or somebody smart said that one time.
Yeah, I think it's a Rick Mears quote.
To finish first you must finish. So, what to expect? We'll start with Guffey. You're going to have to get up around 3:30 in the morning, and you'll meet me at my house. And you don't have to worry about where to park because we'll have that covered. But if the random guy says, "Hey, I'm going to go to the Indy 500," I guess I just want to park somewhere. How's that work, Mike?
I don't know. I'm already in way before those people get out of bed. There's always the Coke lot in the North 40, and I don't know.
The North 40's paid now. You have to pay to get a spot in the North 40. Your best bet's to find a yard.
Yeah, probably.
You just drive until somebody says, you can park in my yard for $30.
Or look up the
Speedway High School is really a pretty good place.
There's like some shuttle options where you can park and shuttle in. I know some people park like the Lafayette Square Mall and hike it in. I don't do that, but
I'm not much of a hiker.
No, the only good thing about that is when you walk back, it takes you an hour to get back to your car, but you're clear of most of the traffic getting out. But I've never been. We did the North 40 for a long time, and then we started camping eventually. But find a yard is probably your best bet.
So this is the largest single day sporting event in the world. They literally do not have the capacity or the facilities to serve drinks and food to everybody. So you are encouraged to bring a cooler. You are your own concessions. They've got some concession stands, but they actually want you to bring whatever you got. They want to. They literally don't have the ability to keep you hydrated. So bring your water, bring your cooler, bring your beer.
My morning regiment has always been the same. Always been the same. And I go to the same suite, and
you got room for friends?
I cut up the newspaper.
Up the Spotter's Guide.
Yep, the Spotter's Guide. I cut it all up, and I put who's in what pit and everything, and that way I know if I'm photographing pit stops, I just take a flash card and throw it out. But 6 big Gatorades before I go out.
Did you wear a fire suit?
Wow.
As a photographer.
I am in a fire suit.
And you will be, people can look for you on the NBC Sports broadcast.
Oh, I'm always there.
You're going to be at the end of the pit road attenuator on the north end, coming off turn 4.
Correct.
In the
so
Dismore
if a
spot.
car hits the wall in turn 4, it comes straight at old Mike. Okay. And has for 30 plus years. Okay. So, I actually sent something to Canon cameras in Japan, and they made me a little foot pedal, and it's like an amp pedal for a guitar.
For like a guitar.
So when I have my great big lens and it gets too close, that means Mike's about to die. So Mike dives behind a concrete wall and hits his foot pedal.
Where's the camera go?
The camera is bolted on the wall. It's got a Stanley wood clamp or whatever. It's bolted on the wall. So it takes 7.5 to 9 frames a second with a smaller lens.
Last year, Elio just flipped you off as he was driving along.
Elio had no idea where I was. And full disclosure, I had no idea where Elio was, which got really scary really quickly. But yeah, I'm in a full fire suit because fuel burns clear, hot oil, hot water, radiators, explosions, all that is down there in so my 53-year-old fat frame has to dive behind a 12-inch concrete wall and hope not to die.
You were talking about the pedal and the camera though. Mm-hmm. You're diving down behind the wall and
I hit the foot pedal.
Hitting the
I hit
pedal.
the foot pedal before I dive. So yeah, I have actually 2 full sequences of every crash that comes my way. But 6 bottles of Gatorade from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m. means I am in the port a lot.
Well, yeah, but when you're trapped out there, do you establish a pee corner in your trough there?
There is a blue porta pot at the end of the way that I hit randomly, but once the race starts, I no longer have to go.
You're just in.
16.5 pounds is the record for what I lose in one race. So
crazy.
So I can afford to lose 16.5 pounds.
So 300,000 people in one spot. It is a massive humanity in the north end in the infield. There will be a concert, and those people will have absolutely no concept whatsoever that there's race cars or anything there. There's an electronic dance music or EDM music playing in the snake pit. You got to have a little wristband to get in there, Guffey.
No, you don't.
But those people are going to kill some grass and some coolers. And the photos after the Indy Star pictures that they always have, there's a gallery after the event is over, and you just shake your head.
I just want you to know, I'm a people person. I'll get in anywhere.
You're going to run into Matt in his fellow yellow shirts, and you're going to find out that
you
doesn't
will be
matter how much
tased before 9 o'clock.
You'll have some fun. I'm telling you, those yellow shirts and their whistles, man. You're not living until you've had a yellow shirt blow a whistle in your
Jeremiah,
face.
did you talk to the family that snuck on the track at the GP after hours?
I did.
And the yellow shirts found them, didn't they?
They found them they were talking to them the next year, reminding them that they knew that they did it. They know, and they know who you are, and they come give you hell. We were doing nothing wrong. We were just kissing the bricks.
When I was there on Monday, I saw the Department of Homeland Security rolling in. They have levels of security that you aren't even aware of. They have a robot that runs around.
And full disclosure, they don't have a big sense of humor. They really don't. I mean, there's some things that are just not very funny to them.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with that amount of people and trying to keep it under control. I wouldn't want that job.
Now, I will say that the infield, the police, that there's a lot of state troopers that patrol area on a golf cart. And their main goal is just to make sure that people don't die. Like,
they're pretty friendly.
As long as you're not violent, it's pretty much just lawless.
If you have common sense, you do fine at the track.
There's always a couple guys.
But the lack of common sense is spectacular at times. Like, you'll see people, and I was on pit lane on Monday, and there are people just walk by, and they don't realize they're about to get run over by a race car being pushed by people, and they don't hear anything coming behind them. They almost get run over by Mario. And just like, you have to kind of have your head on a swivel, but I try not to get whistles blown at my head by yellow shirts. But it's not hard, but especially a couple of beers in for some people, and they start drinking like at 5:30 in the morning. It gets ugly fast.
Start reaching out, wanting to touch cars. Can I sit in it? Because you can, especially on a practice day, you can be right up.
There was a year at the race when they took one of Foyt's cars and they drug it off to like a little area on the inside of turn 4 or turn 3. And fans started running up and started ripping chunks off the car just because they'd stuck it next to it. There was a grandstand
like
there
zombies.
at the time. Yeah, well, there's a grandstand at the time. There's no grandstands at that end of the track on the infield anymore.
Did you see the tweet this week from Doug Bowles?
Somebody's trying to steal his license plate?
They tried to steal his license plate off of his pace car. I mean, granted, that's a great piece of memorabilia, but the dude needs it to drive in and out of the track.
About half of them are half falling off because I was walking down. They get
no. I think it's people trying to steal them.
I think it's also car washes too.
Maybe.
But like, yeah, they get they have festival cars. So whatever the pace car is, if it's real high end, then they'll have like a similar car. So it looks like the Corvette that they're running is not a Grand Sport. It looks like it's got some modifications to it, but they get like 50 replica cars and they're driving them all over town. They give them to people. You guys should try to get one of those. Jeremiah should try to say, I'm media. I deserve a Corvette for the
Dude, I've been trying to say
Yes.
I'm media and I deserve a Viper since the Viper was there.
1991.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I didn't even get an 87
Junior's in
LeBaron.
That is,
car.
yeah, that was, I love that pick. It's not real popular.
Did
with some
you hear
people.
the
Why is that
NBC?
not popular with some people?
It's NASCAR and they don't, and like Dale,
Oh,
I heard he did an interview with the
you know
IndyCar driver.
what? Do it for Dale.
I heard an interview he did with, he has his own podcast and he did an interview with Will Power and it was really good. And they're kind of
Well
two guys,
done.
two real spazzy guys. But he talked about, after he got done interviewing Will, he talked about tracking this car down. And it was one of his dad's old cars, he thought, but he's trying to do all this research to figure out, is it the right car? Is it the right car? And he gets done saying, I figured out it was the right car. I have a picture of me in the car in 86. And he's like, I wanted this car. He's like, my dad built this car next to my grandma's house in the barn. And it was like, he's just the coolest guy. And he keeps old race cars in the woods behind his house in the boneyard and has a willpower tub in a tree. So he's guy's got a super great grasp of history and loves history. And somebody mentioned to me, he might be bummed he's not going to watch the beginning of the race from outside the car, but
He's going to have a pretty good seat. I would take that seat.
Oh, I would. Yeah, who wouldn't take that seat?
You got to ride in a pace car this year, but not like that.
I don't always listen to Robin Miller because he annoys me. But Robin Miller said that the NBC execs, when they put Earnhardt Jr. in the pace car, can guarantee that they have 1 million more viewers watching the Indianapolis 500. I mean, that is an amazing statistic that they will have 1 million more viewers just because Dale's driving the pace car.
The most popular guy in NASCAR for like every year he was in the series.
And it makes a lot of sense. He's a Chevrolet guy.
He's a Chevrolet guy.
It's
and
a
that's
Chevy
GM
pace car.
pick, yep.
I'm looking right now to see how many Twitter followers Dale Jr. has. It is 2.4 million.
And he'll tweet all about it.
2.4.
I mean, that's
million
near
people.
Kardashian level.
And he'll talk about it on his podcast. And he'll be I don't catch his podcast all the time, but he's probably talking about this week on the podcast about how excited he is to go.
By the way, Ben Hanley had just over 1,000 Twitter followers at the beginning of the week.
At the beginning of the week, what's he have now?
I don't know.
What's he gonna have on Memorial Day by that time?
We'll see if Dale Jr. gives him a retweet. Let's check. Ben
A base picked up a few.
Ben Hanley 85. I'm following, by the way. 1,364.
Oh, so not too.
He's
much
only
yet.
picked up a few hundred.
Not too many yet.
Give
He's
Ben
still got
Hanley a
more than
follow.
us.
Well, he's a big deal. So yeah, you're gonna have Dale Jr. in the pace car. You're gonna have the I don't know what the flyover is. 3 years ago, the flyover bomber crew came and hung out at our tailgate after the race is over. So
I need to know what the schedule is for your tailgate. Because I have morning meeting after morning meeting, and last year I walked out there all the way to turn 3 to see you guys, and there was no breakfast.
I don't know if there's breakfast. It's a survival deal. There won't be breakfast. There will be before the race.
See what you're in for, Chris? It's a survival deal.
It's a
Guffey, you
survival
need to
deal.
come hang out with me. We have breakfast.
Done said it. Done said it.
Before the race, it will be it'll be beers, and then probably 11 o'clock or so, the grill will be on, and there will
So
be,
you don't have 6 Gatorades.
we've got water, and we have Leinenkugels.
I'm thinking mojitos.
We have water and lining.
grab some Jack's Donuts on your way to Jeremiah's house in the morning. They won't even be open at 3:30.
You'll have to get them on Saturday night.
Get them Saturday night.
Mike doesn't do day-old donuts, man.
Well, they're just so early. It'll be 12-hour donuts.
Yeah, what time do they close? It's like they'll be.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Even a day old Jack's Donuts, like a half day old, still a pretty good donut.
Honestly,
I've eaten them.
somebody
I've
could
eaten
get
them
out-
where they're rock hard in the box, but then you put them in the microwave for 12 seconds,
Just put them up on the dash
and they
of the car for
soften
a
up
while.
pretty well.
We can. There's options. So
Listen, Lee Markham knows what he's doing.
Dakota has a system down.
It's exactly 12 seconds. If you go longer than that, then the frosting starts melting.
There was some guy running the Mini and decked out in Jack's Donuts stuff.
Was
I was
it
like,
Lee?
that's not.
Was
I don't
Lee
think
Markham?
it was Lee Markham or Dave Nance.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't Lee or Davis. He said it was probably the guy that owns the Carmel store. I was like, well, that's not funny for me to have to look at donut advertising. And I think I was a half mile into the run. So
Stepping on
Oh,
my
yeah,
toe.
that sucks.
Basically the way that our tailgate will go is we'll get there about 7. We'll set up. We'll hang out. We'll be pretty chill. Some
Hold
folks
on.
will go.
We'll get there at 7.
Yeah, the gates open at 6 a.m. when the bombs go off.
Okay. Now hold on. Let me do math here. I got to get up at 3:30 to get to Indy by 6.
you got to hide in a sketchy
You've gotta
neighborhood.
get-
Wait for the
You
gates to
have
open.
no idea what you're getting ready
You
to
will
get
get
into.
in line on 16th Street or somewhere very close.
And I will pass you.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not in front of a Taco Bell.
I will pass you with the parade wave.
And
with
traffic
my credential as I
traffic will
ride
be
in.
stopped on the road, and traffic will not move until the bomb goes off and they start letting people in at 6. And we
Mike,
will be into our spot.
Can I
by
ride in
7.
with you?
Man, if you want to meet me out there in the corner of the Coke lot, I'll pick you up on the way in.
Screw your waiting, Jeremiah.
Hey man,
I got first class tickets.
listen, I could use the seat for cargo. That's more room for beer. So if you got to ride with Mike, go for it. I don't know if he'll take
For
you
some
home.
reason, I didn't get an infield parking pass this year, so your spot will be all my gear that I don't have to carry in.
We'll
We'll have a mannequin dressed like Mike in his fire suit sitting there.
Is co-host Chase going this year?
Co-host Chase is not. He is he's having a guys retreat in Georgia, I believe, or he would be.
That's un-American.
Do people,
I have
do people ever fall asleep waiting in line to get in the track? You ever pass cars that just aren't moving?
Yeah, you just have to honk at them.
Yeah.
and wake them up.
We go into camp on Thursday. People camp on, like, they park on Georgetown at who knows what hour. And then it's super funny when they lose their spot in line because nobody's going to wake them up. And people are just driving around them because they've gone back into their motor.
There's always
to sleep.
one Mensa guy that shows up, and you know the guy I'm talking about, the Mensa guy, but he shows up and he has like an eighth of a tank of gas and leaves the car running and runs out of gas. And now 300,000 screaming people are trying to get him the hell out of the way so that they can get into the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like I said, it tests the equipment of the fans too. You'll have cars overheat. Things happen. It's an exciting. It's an exciting morning.
Almost everybody has a system. You figure out, like, nobody's like, well, I get in the car and then I go in there and I see what's going on. And it's like, no, like, we went down the same, we got off at the 38th Street exit, and the first thing you got off the exit, you turn left, you go through the thing, and you get up on 34th, turn on Falcon Drive. Falcon Drive takes you to 30th Street, wait there until the bomb goes off, and then you get in line on 30th Street, because depending on where you're at, they won't let you wait in line on the road. They don't want you to block the road. And you get in there and you jump into the North 40 for us, and we always fix the same breakfast, eggs and Little Smokies.
Where are you going to be?
I'm going to be asleep in my camper about 100 yards outside.
Well,
turn
you
4.
need to text me when the eggs and Little Smokies are ready.
I'm with Mike.
The problem is Mike, you can come in and out probably with your credentials. You don't have to worry
Yeah,
about
that's
the
the problem.
gate.
I'm
but-
outside the gate. so-
Mike is out until you get in. So,
if you-
once you're in, you got to pay $40 to get back in. You can't.
This is terrible.
Mike,
I mean,
Zach
you guys
is
got
outside.
you got a new camper this year though.
Yes,
you
I
got
did.
another bed for Chris.
I'll have to see because my brother and his girlfriend are coming, and then my mom usually crashes. She watches.
How do you feel about sleeping
watches
on the
my
roof?
kids? Yeah,
You can sleep with
you
the
bring
kids.
something. We can throw you under a canopy or
You
something.
can tell Jared that I got a tent for him.
Jared has his own camper too, but he can get a camping spot this time. But yeah, a new camper.
I have a one-man tent, Chris.
I wouldn't say I did have a bed, but I got a
That's
new
too big
camper
for him.
I got a new camper to have 2 beds for my kids, so I didn't have to fold things down. If you have a camper, you have to fold everything down to
Yeah.
make beds out of it. And then my 2 boys share the same bunk, so they don't even sleep. And one of them took a nap face down on the ground in front of a bunk on our first trip out. I'm like, I'm glad I bought a big camper so you could sleep on the floor or share a bunk.
So in the 80s and early 90s, they would have 600 photographers show up, and half of them would not be in before the race started because traffic and congestion and large amounts of beer and all sorts of different things. So I actually was required to be inside the track by 2 a.m. So we'd leave Newcastle at midnight, and I'd go in and they'd wave you right on through, and you'd park behind the grandstands there in turn 4. So when the bomb would go off,
You're halfway through your night.
Which
I'm
is
halfway
amazing,
through
by
my
the
day, but 2-3 hours prior to the bomb going off, I would be on the inside of the track looking at all the drunks through the fence on Georgetown Road. And I would take more pictures of them than I would of the race cars. You know, and then when the bomb goes off, you'd go to the highest place you could get, which in turn 4 was the interior grandstands there. And there would be guys flying through the infield. And back then, before the road course was there were big potholes and everything. There's a guy that's coming flying through in a hearse with urinals strapped to the side of it and screaming, go, you know, and they're all going crazy and people falling out of cars and getting run over by cars.
They're trying to get their spot.
They're trying to get their spot.
You show up at 2 a.m. Georgetown isn't even done partying at 2 a.m.
No. So those guys never would see a car run. They would be passed out and laying in the grass and everything before a car ever ran.
So that's the thing is I wanted to say is that not everybody has a seat.
No.
There's a 30 or 40,000 people that have no idea what a car looks like.
No.
They'll stand up and they'll watch Kelly Clarkson sing the national anthem on the screen and be all American about it.
Aren't those pretty balloons?
And then they'll watch the balloons and old Jim's going to sing the Back Home Again in Indiana song, and then they'll be gone. They won't know after that.
Yeah, it's over.
My aunt and uncle camped there one year, and a guy just blasted music all night long. And he kept asking, you want to go all night long? Give me a stop. And nobody would say anything. He just kept playing. And then 8 o'clock in the morning rolled around, and he packed up and went home.
Never said
and had no intention of going to the race.
That's awesome.
He was just there for the party.
Yeah, he was Coke Lot party time.
So here's the central question I have, I guess, is, you know, we've got this Memorial Day holiday seems to me to be the most tradition-laden holiday of anything. It's not, you don't have to go to mom and dad's house, or it's not Christmas or Thanksgiving. It's like the holiday you get to enjoy, or you do what you're going to do. Whether you go camping, or you go fishing, or you're going to go golfing, or you're going to have a cookout at mom and dad's house, or whatever it is, or you go to the race. The track has gone above and beyond trying to bring back the snake pit and find ways to get people when they're 18, 19, 20 years old to come to the track.
A much more sophisticated snake pit, but yes.
Well, the new snake, the EDM snake pit.
It's a sanctioned. It's like we have a Broad Street Cruise now. It's not the same as the old Broad Street Cruise. It's an authorized.
The snake pit
organized.
Is the turn 3 infield crowd.
Yes.
That's the snake pit. The old turn 1 snake pit is that area with the hooligans in there. But the snake pit sanction deal is the concert that they have, but that's designed to get people to come when they're 18, 19, 20 years old. And then when they're 27 and they go, I don't really need to do this anymore. Then they're like, well, maybe you ought to buy a seat in turn 4 and go watch the race.
And this thing Connor out there, Connor usually stops by the snake pit sometime race morning, cause he hangs out with Dead Mouse and some of those other guys. And so he'll stop by in his driving suit and, you know, holler at and try and get people and like, hey, look, that's a race car driver. So then they have a guy to identify with to hopefully buy an actual ticket.
And, you know, Doug Bowles has done a really nice job with all that. And, you know, the Legends Day concert and stuff. It's become an entire weekend of racing. I mean, you know, tomorrow's the barbecue. Thursday night's the Hall of Fame dinner, which Blake and I are going to for the old timers or whatever. But they're inducting Dan Weldon, who
is in Bob Lamey, or not Bob.
Bob Jenkins.
Bitchin' Bob.
Bob Jenkins from Liberty, Indiana.
Yep. They're good.
Wow.
But Dan Weldon's going to get, I'm sure Susie and the boys will be there. It's going to be a really nice dinner. Very expensive dinner.
They make you pay?
Yeah, I have to pay. That's the only thing during the month I pay for.
No, that's not bad though.
No, it's not.
Doug's a great guy though. During the oval test, he showed up with a trunk full of cookies and beer.
He went to Kroger and brought a bunch of cookies.
Yeah.
Cookies and a case of beer, and hand out cookies to the fans on the mound.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. Then Saturday, you have the parade, you have the full field autograph session, you have the concert that night, which is Zach Brown Band, which is going to be epic.
They also have like a
Journey and
Foreigner is on card.
I'm sorry, Foreigner and
I made the same mistake.
Cool in the Gang.
Yeah,
are
I think
going to be
Journey
there.
must have been last.
Journey was a couple years ago. No, Journey was like 3 years.
I can't remember. Yeah,
Last year was Bare Naked Ladies.
One of them was Bob Seeger.
2 years ago was Bare Naked Ladies.
Never Bob Seeger.
Yeah, he did it.
He did it. Yeah. last year or
If Bob
two.
Seger would have been there, I'd have been on the front row.
Everybody can look it up. He was in the last year or two. We can hear the concert from a camper. So,
Eddie Money, but not Bob Seger.
but they do. Yeah, they do.
They had Sammy Hagar.
And then Doug also embraces the whole Memorial Day tradition of things.
The military.
You want 300,000 people in one spot. That's one thing. 300,000 people being silent for the playing of taps actually happens. People take their hats off. People pay attention. Even for the mini, they have like a gold star mile on the back stretch of the track, and it's just pictures of fallen soldiers for the entire back straightaway. And some of the families are there. So he takes that part very seriously. I saw him on Saturday, and they had a bunch of active duty military from all different services. They're all in full uniform.
He was shaking every one of them. Saying,
And he was taking them and having their pictures taken with the Borg Warner trophy and giving them like private tours around the pit lane and stuff. So he understands that like this isn't a holiday that the 500 owns. It's a holiday that they use. And there's a big presence with the military with Armed Forces qualifications weekend because it's Armed Forces Day, Saturday. So
there's a guy named David Lindquist from the Indianapolis Star who wrote a story about the concerts that they do at Carb Day and saying, hey, we've just about run the
classic rock.
Run through the classic rock genre.
Steve Miller's there like every other year.
And that's I'm working. They kind of covered all of the they covered the whole list of everybody that they've had there. And basically what the track has said is they want it to be a sing along, right? We know it's going to be a drunk fest. We know Friday is going to be 100,000 people. 50,000 of them are going to stand there and watch the concert that you get for being there. And we want you to just know the song. So this guy, the music critic basically said, it's run its course. You need to bring in some different acts. And I'm desperately trying to find this. And the Indy Star is completely unmanageable here right now. I'm going to click on the sports page and see if this pops up.
Judging by the crowds they're getting at Carb Day, I don't think it's run its course.
Carb
Day has gotten, I've been camping at this race for about 10 or 12 years now, and the race has definitely come back. When I first started, you could get a camp spot in my lot real easy. You could find tickets real easy, and Carb Day is incredible now. Like it's a massive humanity, and it's not the race because they're all in the infield and they're running around at the concert.
The vast majority of people that I know and work with that go to the race go to Carb Day.
Yeah, it's a huge and he's right. It's a sing along. It's like, Journey's there. You're going to hear "Don't Stop Believing." You're going to hear, like, I can sit there and listen to.
Hey,
the
we're going to
concert,
hear "Cold as Ice" Friday,
and you'll hear all that
one
hits.
You're as cold as ice.
Yes.
Willing to sacrifice.
And if nothing else,
I hope it's better than
maybe
that.
the kids today didn't grow up with.
I'm
that
going to have to
music.
get the Sado out here.
Didn't grow up with that music as their music. But it's their parents' music, and they were listening. Their parents, like my parents, were listening to Bob and Tom and Q95 growing up. So that may not be my music, but I know all that music, and I grew up with it being played before I had my own radio to control. So yeah,
there's something about those songs will always be around.
Yes,
they will. No one in 20 years is going to be listening to "Congratulations" by Post Malone.
I'm really surprised somebody does now.
That music is going to fade in obscurity, and like classic rock just kind of maintains its position, and it's not really getting a catalog that's being added to. But Q95 still does pretty well, playing the same music they've been playing for 25 years.
Exactly.
Yeah, here we go. All right, so I almost feel like this article maybe this is just Dave trying to get talked about, but he equated Foreigner to the 1970s version of Nickelback, and said they were in 1978 they called them the world's dullest rock group.
They sold a hell of a lot of records.
Yeah,
so did Nickelback.
Yeah,
there's
I know, like, listen to Tom Griswold's big argument with Nickelback. He's like, people only hate Nickelback because it was cool to hate Nickelback. Like, they didn't actually hate them.
No.
It just became the thing to do, and it was a funny joke about get your Nickelback.
I just wanted to say, 2 years ago, I had Nickelback concert tickets. I was going to go. I was in the parking lot, and they canceled due to rain. It got flooded out.
I remember that. All right, so this is the list of bands that have played.
Y'all just want to be big rock stars.
2019 is Foreigner and Kool and the Gang. So, but literally, if you buy a bronze badge, you can go to this concert for free. If you go buy a Carb Day ticket. It's like $30. You can go listen to these bands. So 2019, it was Foreigner and Cool in the Gang. That's this year. Last year was Train and Blues Traveler.
Who doesn't like Blues Traveler?
I love Blues Traveler. I wound up leaving early because
New phone, who dis?
there was the guy I went with had a kid at Noblesville School, and it was a really bad day for Noblesville schools last year. So my day was kind of it fell apart. But 2017, Steve Miller Band and Bare Naked Ladies. I actually attended that. Love Bare Naked Ladies. Seen them live 3 times. 2016 was Journey. 2015, Jane's Addiction 38 Special.
Jane's Addiction, the lead singer walked by me, and all I could figure out is, why is this guy wearing eye makeup? I had no idea who it was. My daughter was horrified that I didn't know who Jane's Addiction was.
Sammy Hagar did 2014, Poison 2013, Skinner 2012, 2011. I remember making fun of this one a lot. It was Stained and Papa Roach. That was not
I
for
can
me.
see why you'd make fun of that lineup.
2010 was ZZ Top. 2009, Three Doors Down. 08 was Stone Temple Pilots. Kid Rock played it in 2007. 06 was B-52s and Third Eye
Kid
Blind.
Rock.
And 05 was the Black Crows. This guy
Big
basically
oof.
No
that
Bob
one.
Seger there
Okay,
for the
I think I mixed
Yeah.
up with the Steve Miller Band. I'll tell you what, we're about 5 or 10 years away from being Nickelback. Nickelback will be the Carb Day concert.
He's
eventually.
saying,
I hope.
It's a couple.
I hope you don't have to wheel me in a
Nickelback with
wheelchair.
Foreigner.
he said you need to bring in Muse. Yeah, Muse, whatever. It's not a sing along. It's not a sing along band.
I don't
though.
even know who that is.
Weezer. Okay, so if they brought
Weezer
Weezer in,
would
I'd be
be
pretty cool.
awesome.
Weezer would be cool. Black Keys. He
The
suggested
Black Keys would be awesome too.
I would go for Black Keys, and I would go for Green Day. Green Day's on there too.
Green Day's got some songs that everybody knows.
Smashing Pumpkins.
He says Smashing
yeah.
Pumpkins. Maybe you need to
Well,
bring
that's
Smashing
Kenny
Pumpkins
Aronoff.
in.
That's a local guy. I mean,
How young is this fellow that wrote this? Cage the Elephant. Dang, yeah.
I bet he's closer to your age than he is mine. I'll tell you that.
I'm liking this guy's taste in music. We could probably be friends.
That was John Cougar Mellencamp, not done Carb Day.
Well, that was the other one he suggested, but he basically said in his article that Mellencamp does not want to be overshouted by drunk fans. He doesn't want to do a sing along and do a party. He doesn't want to have to compete with the attention of the audience.
Have you ever seen the TV show that used to be on IFC called Documentary Now?
No.
And it is basically it's fake documentaries, but it's presented by Helen Mirren, and and there was one called Gentle and Soft about a fake 70s rock band, and called the Blue Jean Committee.
Cousin Rick made me watch this.
Yeah, it's hilarious, and one of the guys is filthy rich because he owned all the rights to the band, and then the other guy works in a sausage packing factory in Chicago. John Mellencamp is the guy that's filthy rich and lives in L.A. and is super uptight.
Now I have a question for this Indy 500 American event.
Yes, sir.
What is the proper attire?
Jorts and a cutoff T-shirt.
You're shitting.
America.
No, I think about what Pat McAfee would wear on the 4th of July, and you'll almost be there.
I can't get away with that. I can't get away with that.
Like Star Spangled Banner, tank top, yeah, whatever, yeah, jorts, like nailed it. And then like if you can find some like Star Spangled Banner Chuck Taylors or cowboy boots or something, then
I got cowboy boots, jorts, and tank tops that you can borrow.
Why would you
Dakota
ever
has-
tell
Hold on,
anybody
Hold on,
that?
and
hold on, Dakota.
hold on, and a 20-inch brimmed straw hat.
Dakota,
I thought you had a red, white, and blue cowboy hat.
I feel like
I do. Yeah, Tad Western gave me that.
I know
we are
Dakota's,
we are not the same size.
you know what? That would make it better.
Yeah.
That would make it more appropriate.
These jorts are a little bit big on me. They're a size 34.
That's about my size.
So my
go.
almost
Yeah.
20-year-old daughter from Butler University says, "Dad, I can pick you out of a crowd of 300,000 people. You're the one with your T-shirt tucked into your blue jeans." I'm like, what the hell's wrong with that? That's
I literally
what you
have
do.
shots I've taken of people at the track and just hashtag track fashion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's those people that obviously don't care, and then there's typically women that go and they're dressed in like those like huge clunky heels and
Like the early 2000s platform flip-flops.
yeah, they're dressed because they're trying to pick up a driver. Like they're there. I'm like, you're not wearing an outfit that tells you have to walk like a mile and a half.
Yeah,
today.
there's nothing like pit lizards. There just isn't.
Luckily, I'm
Lizards.
single.
Well, Pippa's married, and she's the only woman.
That
in the
means
race.
that you need to get one of Mike's flame suits and pretend you're a driver and pick up a pit lizard.
Dude, I probably have one that'll fit you.
You want to wear a fire suit on race day?
I
may die.
I know a guy who used to walk around. He had a bronze badge, and he would go walk around practice days. And he would, on qualifications too, he'd walk around the garage area dressed up as you've ever watched Top Gear, the Stig, in an all white, just a white fire suit with a white helmet with a tinted visor. And he would just walk around qualifications day like as a joke. The Stig's supposed to be this mystery driver. Like, I'm waiting for a ride. If somebody wants a real driver,
I bet there were people took pictures with him. Drivers and everybody.
Yeah. Matt, he's a great guy. But yeah, he did that for a couple of years. You're like, oh, it's going to be bump day.
Stig's here.
Time for the Stig to show up. And he would show up. And
that's brilliant.
And he wouldn't talk. You never saw him take his helmet off. And whenever you saw him
if
later
he had
in
shown
the
up
day,
the year Felipe Giovanni was in the, it was in the baby store, he could have started the Indy 500 for Foyt.
yeah, he's a legit carter. Like if you go to Fast Times or Sarah Fisher, he's usually got the fast time on the board.
All right. I think we're all convinced that you have to attend the race. Dakota,
I'm not going to tell Dakota he needs to go because he stiffed us last year.
It's true, and it's a personal affront to all of the listeners who.
Even if you don't like racing, it's not called the greatest race in the world. It's called the greatest spectacle in racing, and that's top to bottom. It's all kinds of stuff that goes on. They even tell the drivers, the rookies, you've been driving around this track for 2 weeks, that you're not going to understand what it's like till you're here on race day, and you come around turn 4, and there's no grandstands, it's people, because the grandstands have been empty all month and now they're full. And you have to, and they said the track visually narrows up, and then the back they see you can't even see because all the dust being kicked up when they start the 3 wide.
And there is a guy that looks like Joe Dirt, and he will be standing right next to a guy in a $4,000 pair of shoes. It's the only place in the world.
Yeah,
that
that's the interesting thing about the Coke lot. And like when friends go out to Coke lot, people think, oh, this is a poor person's place to camp. And it's like, wait, there's a motorhome right there that's got a 70-inch TV under the motorhome, and he's got 4 48-inch Weber kettle grills going. He's camped here because he wants to be here, not because he's too poor to get a better spot.
I'll probably go one of these days, but
I got a spare ticket.
Sunday is not the day.
We're going to shame you.
You got a
That's
little bit.
okay.
You got a little bit lucky last year. You missed being at the hottest 500 on
I
the
would
record. Like I didn't. I was like, I think I thought about you one point during the day when I was like, I didn't take any soft drinks except like water and Powerade up to the stands because I'm this is going to be awful.
All right, Dakota, you need to start familiarizing yourself with this screen here because it's
Memorial Day sale, $1 for 3. Oh,
it is. Yeah, apparently you don't have an Indy Star logged in account on there. It's time. It is time. By the way, the front row is car 22, 21, and 20. Good year to have the low 20s as your numbers.
and a Chevrolet.
Yeah, that was the best analysis you've had the entire night. By the way,
I am so proud of you.
Wow, he read that right there. Yeah, what's the other engine? Do you know? Chevy and what?
Honda.
Really?
I knew that from last year.
God dang.
They're trying to get a third engine
there's
provider.
rumors.
Sometimes
Evidently they're real close to Porsche, and maybe the window is still open, but they didn't quite get it done.
Yeah, and if it is a Porsche, it's probably going to be a Cosworth.
They need it to be.
I don't care what it is. As long as
Cosworth
there's
reportedly has an engine waiting. He just wants somebody. They need to add some hybrid to get some people on board.
What this is totally this is for Zach and I, but they need to have a hybrid push to pass. They talked about having the boost or whatever. So you have a button you press and you literally get, an extra 60 horsepower for 120 seconds. If they went out and said that's electronic boost instead of just giving you more power, if it's a battery operated or some sort of electronic hybrid, that's when you get the other manufacturers to come in.
Yeah.
And then Volkswagen or Porsche or Alfa Romeo or
Tesla.
Ferrari or somebody comes in.
Tesla manufactures the batteries.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to get them in there on that. Is it because they're already a full electric series, but they need to do some kind of hybrid. And it doesn't need to be. They're worried about money. They're always worried about money, but just
I bet Elon would be all about that. And then when he's in Indy, we would have him here.
and he'll tweet about it. He'll tweet about whatever he can tweet about without the SEC telling him.
He's already got the world's fastest car. It's floating through space.
Yes.
All right. So we are going to do race predictions. Dakota and Chris, we're going to put you at the end because you got to Google and figure out what the hell the names of the drivers are.
I've got some.
But I want a winner from each of you that is a stud, like it's not a surprise. And then I want, this guy may not win, but hey, I want you to watch for this one. This is your underdog kind of a deal. I won't hold you accountable if he doesn't win, but all right, yeah, it happened. So we'll start with Mike, and somebody better be scribing somewhere. We got to hold people accountable next week.
I think we should do a friendly wager.
Sarah's friendly wager, huh?
Yes.
What's
$5?
Now what happens?
We're poor.
No, not doing it.
What happens?
Dakota.
Here? How would this work? This is very difficult.
What do you mean?
If you want it, you could get a 24-inch hat instead of
Exactly.
Instead of the 20.
What
It's
happens?
an extra
can
4
upgrade.
inches. That's a big deal.
Zach is over here scribing, so he's got it
I'm
covered.
scribing, yep. I'll
What
write that
what
down.
happens if two people pick the same driver? Do we split the $5? What happens?
Well, I don't think you should be able to pick.
Well, what happens if I'm picking last because I'm the host? Now,
Well, are you wanting to
now
do-
all the good guys are gone.
That's your sacrifice.
Are you saying one prime pick and then one dark horse?
Yeah, I want a prime
So
pick and a dark
best-
horse.
If you have two, then the dark horse, the finishing position for the dark horse breaks.
That
the
is
tie.
fair. That is a reasonable solution.
Booyah.
You're
Are we all in for 5?
I got mine. I got my predictions.
all right. We're in for 5. Mike,
So
you're
why
in
do
for
I
5?
I get to go first
You
because
get
I'm the
first
oldest?
pick because you're
Okay.
You're the old
because-
timer.
I'm the old
Because you're
timer.
in the seat that normally gets to go
Respect
first.
your
You
elders.
won the lottery.
Well, I'm not going to go with favorites.
Oh, not at all.
No. I'm going
Ben Handley.
with not a chance. I'm going with a Carpenter car, but it's not Carpenter.
Is it an Ed?
It is Ed Jones.
Ed Jones finished third or second? Third place 2 years ago? 3 years
I'm
ago
going
with
with
Coin?
Ed
Yeah,
Jones.
he got right. Yeah, 2
and
years
I'll
ago.
tell you why. He's been under the radar the whole entire time. Just goes out and mashes it,
In the WeatherTech Chevy.
and he is absolutely
Scuderia Corsa.
flawless through turn 4.
Dakota, where do you think Ed Jones is from?
I have no idea.
He's from Dubai.
It's a very American name.
And then we have Joseph, Josef Newgarden. He's from Tennessee.
Yes. Yes.
That's just because they didn't know how to spell Joseph.
That's right. That could very well be. So that is my
That's your
Pick.
favorite. Ed Jones is your favorite. He's starting on the front row. So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
okay.
All right, your dark horse?
My dark horse. I'm going with the 19-year-old Colton.
You're going to take Colton, the guy that's already won an Indy 500
That's
or
more of a
Indy
gray
car
horse
race.
than a dark horse, but yeah.
I'm
All
going
right.
with Colton.
All right.
Colton will probably hear this podcast and know that McKown's rooting for him.
He would
He's
have
on
a.
your
He would
side.
have a. Imagine if his dad was calling his race.
If Colton makes it to this part of the podcast, I'm a Colton Herta fan for life.
Absolutely.
What was that glove he wore for his
It
qualification
was from
picture?
the Avengers, whatever the hell
Infinity
that-
Gauntlet.
that kid movie. He and he and
You, sir.
he and Steinbrenner were playing with it.
I thought he just spray painted an Incredible Hulk one. I didn't know what it was.
All right, Guffey.
All right, so I'm going with Joseph Newgarden.
Ah, man. That was my pick, too.
Way to go out on a limb, Guff.
Hey, and then my dark horse is going to be Marcus Ericsson.
All right, that's
That's a really good
Marcus
pick.
did a real.
that's fair.
He qualified very well for being a rookie, and he'd never run an oval before.
Now show your work, Guffey. Tell me why.
Joseph Newgarden sounded really cool,
Okay.
and so did Marcus Ericsson.
All right.
That's it.
So it's Marcus's first year.
And actually, I looked him up, and
They were
Marcus
both-
is like 40-1.
You picked the palest pair
You did.
possible, like the most Scandinavian pair possible.
I look back. Is he a ginger? What's going on back here?
I fit in perfectly.
All right, Zach. Give me your winner, your favorite.
Oh, I'm going to go with Ed Carpenter for the, and then dark horse. I don't know if it's much of a dark horse. I'll go with Marco Andretti.
That's
Oh
a
my
good
God,
idea.
it's not a dark horse.
It's not more. Well, okay.
Well,
Let me go
it
deeper.
probably is if you've seen his last couple seasons.
Yeah. Well, he's due at Indy at some
he's in
point.
an
That's not
injury.
okay. I'll
We reject
And
that.
he has Brian Herta on his stand.
yes.
That's a very good pick.
It would be the sentimental favorite.
I love Marco.
You go. One of you guys go ahead, and I'll think of another dark horse. I got to run through the field.
My predictions are willpower because Bet O'Clock has him at 7-1 odds to win.
Defending winner.
Defending champion.
Yep.
Okay.
And then my dark horse would be Connor Daly because he's just pretty cool.
If Connor wins,
That would be amazing. He's a funny guy.
it would be.
Yeah, I know he is. That's
big
why he's my
moment.
dark
That
horse.
will
I
change
like him.
Indianapolis.
It'll be a big deal. All right, so Ed's off the board. DJ Willie P's off the board. Joseph Newgarden's off the board. Simon Pagenaud is still up there, the pole sitter.
You just unplugged my headphones.
Ironically, that morning that he won the pole, I walked into the track and he had his dog Norman out, walking his dog so his dog could go to the bathroom at like 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, and later that day he's on the pole.
I will take Simon. And my dark horse. Give me Tony Kanaan. Give me Kanaan. He'll lead a lap. I don't know if he'll win, but Tony will lead a lap.
I'll take Sebastian Bourdais as a dark horse.
That's fair. Sarah has fallen in love with Sebastian Bourdais this month, by the way.
He's fantastic.
There
He's
is
such an
no
odd guy,
way
too.
a panel of 5 people can go through here and no one said Scott Dixon.
Well, yeah, we did.
Absolutely.
I mean, the Ganassis have not been.
They have not been great
They've not been anything particularly good this year.
But Scott Dixon could be in a golf cart and do well.
Yeah, he'll probably be
run
top,
7th.
He'll probably be top 10, top 5. If it's an unusual day and there's a lot of it and there's some attrition, we don't know about their fuel issues. Honda doesn't seem to quite have the power. Maybe they can go a little longer between fuel stops and that'll help them out. If anybody can pull out a weird one, it'd be Scott Dixon, but you can't. He's not a dark horse either.
No, but I
champion.
can't believe no one. I took Ed Jones and Scott Dixon for Christ's sakes. What's that?
You picked a part-time winner, a part-time guy to be your winner.
Absolutely.
That's all right. Well, you got the list. Zach, you want to read them back to us real quick and see?
Okay, so Mike's got Ed Jones with Ed Carpenter Scuderia Corsa as his primary, and then Colton Herta with Harding Steinbrenner Racing. Jeremiah's got Simon Pagenaud, who's going to try and sweep the month like his teammate did last year.
That's what happened. Won everything.
He is motivated. If anybody if you want to see some great racing, watch the last 20 laps of the Indianapolis Grand Prix and watch him put on a wet driving clinic.
Fun fact about Simon: we're always the same age. Simon's 34,
and then Tony Kanaan,
35,
crowd favorite 2013 winner as your dark horse. Dakota's got Will Power, defending champion, and Connor Daly, which is a great dark horse pick. It'd be great to see him do pretty well. And then producer Guffey's got Joseph Newgarden and Marcus Ericsson. Newgarden's with Team Penske, and Marcus Ericsson's with Aero Schmidt Peterson Motorsports. And then I've got Ed Carpenter and Sebastian Bourdais, Seabass.
That's about a third of the field.
And no one took Ben Hanley.
Nobody took Ben Hanley.
Watch him get like 9th or something like that. Because
nobody took Kyle Kaiser. So what happens? What happens if nobody?
I almost
wins?
picked Kyle Kaiser because I work with a guy whose last name is Kaiser.
I'd make Kyle Kaiser. He's a super nice guy, but yeah, we'll see how they.
I don't. Yeah, so
I bet they're massaging their car right now.
There's about 8 guys that I don't think have any chance of winning.
7 guys and a girl.
Yes. Okay. There are 8 entrants that have no chance of winning.
Pippa Man,
roughly.
her betting odds right now are 500 to 1.
Who are the give me the 8 longest odds? Because if you've got that list, or maybe it's some that are just the
Ben
field.
Hanley has to be the longest.
I would say there's probably 8.
Kyle
or so.
Kaiser and Pippa Man are the 2 at the bottom at 500 to 1. Both.
Hanley's got better odds, or does he? Is he
Ben
just
Hanley is 300 to 1.
Well, that's a mistake.
I've got 1,000 to 1 on Hanley.
That's a very successful team, not an IndyCar.
What are you on?
ActionNetwork.com.
I'm on betoclock.com.
I, for one, am happy that there are multiple lines on the Indy 500. This is a win for motorsports.
Yep.
What else you got, Dakota? Who else is on there?
Oh, I just backed out because I was going to look for his
all right,
website.
What's Marco?
All right, I'm back on. I'm back on.
I got Hanley and Man at 1,000 to 1. Kaiser's 500 to 1. Then you got Jack Harvey and Santino Ferrucci.
Santino Ferrucci, an American.
I was going to say, here's another guess, Dakota. Where's Santino Ferrucci from? He's from Connecticut.
What is Harvey's odds?
200 to 1.
Well, that is worth $20.
Yeah, because he's an Aero Schmidt Peterson Motorsports spinoff with Meyer Shank
at
Racing.
200 to 1, we could all put $20 together and get $100, and we could fully fill your list.
He's
of
coming
everything
off.
you want for the.
He's coming off a legit
really.
podium at the Indianapolis Grand Prix.
All right, what other long shots do we have? Because that's like Vegas broke the line. I would not. That's not impossible.
What was that guy?
Jack Harvey.
He almost won last year. If they'd had another caution, he was right there in the mix. At
He's
the end.
fourth from the bottom on this list too.
Yeah.
That's a mistake.
Then we've got Charlie Kimball, James Davidson, Jordan King.
Wait, what's Charlie's?
Sage,
Charlie's finished in the
Kareem.
top 5 before.
They're all at 100 to 1.
Yeah, 100 to 1.
James Davidson's 100 to 1.
Yep.
I bet he's 5 to 1 to hit the wall first.
Yeah, he should be longer.
Did I say that out loud? Sorry, James.
Okay, he qualified last year with a car that was literally like duct tape back together because he wrecked it so late on Fast Friday. I think I can't believe they got him and Charlie Kimball together.
No way.
Now, when he was the emergency last minute solution to
Seabass
Bourdais crash, and he was very competitive in a good. This is so silly. In a really good Dale Coyne car. The quote of the month to me, I don't know if I shared it with you, Zach, was Ed Jones saying, "I didn't know how good I had it in 2017 when I drove the Dale Coyne Honda," and he was in a Ganassi car last year.
No, I think the quote of the month of May so far is Colton Herta. Alonso's on our track now.
That's fair too.
You know, this is a 19-year-old kid that stands up to Alonso.
You got more long shots?
Yeah. This is from 1070 The Fan.
These are the Tony Donahue lines.
And it's their odds are set up really weird.
What about?
I'm not going to read these because I don't know what the numbers mean.
What about Oriole
Never mind.
Servia? Because I bet that's a long shot that could actually win.
He's very good as well.
Oriole's good.
80 to 1.
80 to 1.
The only thing I'll say with that, and this only bad thing for Marcus Ericsson, is that Peterson just does not seem to have a good grasp on Indy right now.
I'm concerned that it's going to be. You need to be a veteran driver that knows how to handle in a hot. It's going to be slippery. You're going to have to.
That's what they said
it.
30 seconds before Alexander Rossi won the Indianapolis 500.
Well, if it's clutch and coast, then Ben Hanley may win the damn race. But although Rossi ran top 10 or 11 all day that day, but that would be the kind of deal where if Servia wins the race, it's because he ran 34 or 35 laps and won on fuel mileage. He was in the top 10 all day, and they played the strategy game, and they won that way.
Tony Kanaan had the 6 to 1 odds last year.
Yeah, but he was in a. What are his odds now?
He was in a Foyt.
He was in a Ford car last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they qualified at 10th
They
and
were
11th.
they were really good.
He was top 10 all day until.
Kanaan should not be 6 to 1 this year. Kanaan's probably 25.
Kanaan is 20 to 1.
I could do this. Yeah,
They're struggling this year.
they're not as good. I think he'll lead a lap, but that's about it.
We'll find out Friday because they practiced yesterday, but it was.
We'll really
So-
find out Sunday.
So what are the guys?
Yeah. But
What are the guys out of Dryer and Rumble?
Yeah, the odds, the
You said you had
specific odds aren't out
Hildebrand
yet.
or
Karam at 100 to 1. J.R. Hildebrand on your list. Is he 100 to 1 as
The
well?
100 to 1s?
What's J.R. Hildebrand?
he should be higher than Karam.
Hildebrand is 60 to 1.
Yeah,
What's Karam?
Hildebrand.
100 to 1.
101? Okay. That makes sense.
Hildebrand made me a lot of money hitting the wall and turning forward, leading the race.
He's a super nice guy.
Great
You want to
guy.
talk about maybe with the smartest guy in the paddock. He turned down an MIT scholarship to go racing.
Absolutely.
And now he does work with NASA. He does work with McLaren. You see him at Woking in their factory in England.
He does some consulting work.
He does
with
some
Berkeley,
consulting
I think,
work
or
he's
Stanford.
and real big with STEM initiatives and stuff like that. Yeah, he turned down an MIT scholarship to go racing.
He's a huge baseball fan. My son always talks to him about baseball, and he goes, "How about those Giants this year? That's like not won a game all season."
He's a Bay Area guy. Yeah.
He goes, "Thank God I still have Golden State." You know, so it's pretty cool. Those guys have a lot of personality.
Very cool. All right. Well, this has been fun. Dakota, I hope you've learned something.
Always.
Guffey, are you excited? Do you have, what's your one takeaway? The one thing you want to come away with from the Indy 500 with? What's it going to be?
A girlfriend. No.
What's funny about
$20 in turn 3, you might be able to find one.
at the 500 though,
$20 you might find two.
your race day girlfriend might turn into a Monday morning boyfriend though, because you got to keep your eye out there.
If you want currency for turn 3, buy a carton of cigarettes and bring them in with you. You'll make all kinds of friends.
And some
And Keystone.
And some fried chicken.
Yeah.
Wings will always do it.
All right.
Guffey, I'm disappointed. I thought you'd say that you'd rather hang out with McKown than you would Jeremiah. That's your takeaway from the 500.
All I'm saying is technically I'm not hanging out with Jeremiah because I don't have seats next to Jeremiah.
That's true.
So
I'm in turn 3 and you're in turn 4 right
There is
now.
nothing stopping me from coming down there.
That was until Mike mentioned race cars sliding at him out of control with fuel on board.
It sounds exciting.
You'd be
So
Mike's
whereabouts
personal
in
assistant.
turn 4 are you?
I have no clue.
He has no idea. I think you're in J stand.
So are you on the inside or the outside?
He'll be
No
outside.
clue.
Outside? So you will get to wave at me.
There are no seats on the
You'll
inside
be
of
waving
4.
to me.
There. Well, I mean, you could. The Tower Terrace pit road, I guess, would be.
That's kind of true.
That's about the.
Dakota, if you're not going to go, at least listen to it on the radio. Try. You're just going to be driving around in a golf cart doing a poker run, aren't you?
That's Saturday.
Oh.
I'll be hungover Sunday.
A poker run on a golf cart. Where are you at? The trailer park?
Yes.
Campground life. I used to have
Campground.
I used to have my camper in a seasonal spot. And
Okay.
golf cart life is life in those seasonal spots.
That is.
All right. Well, very good. We have we've run this one out pretty good. We appreciate everybody listening.
Final thoughts?
We're going to work around the room here and do final thoughts real quick. Thank you for helping us, Producer Guffey. I don't know how
Chris
I can
is
host this.
itching for something.
I don't know
He's
how
got
I can
something
host this
planned.
show without
I'm in.
you.
I'm in this.
Well, Chris is going to go
He's
next to
itching to
last.
say
with
something.
final
I
thoughts.
have you. I just want you to know, Jeremiah, you called it a children's movie, but
Turbo.
no. Avengers Endgame
Turbo's a
Bro.
great movie.
broke the record domestically with crazy amounts, like 700 something.
They surpassed.
Ridiculous.
That's your parting shot?
Hold on.
He's defending a.
They
movie.
surpassed Avatar.
Yeah, domestically. And actually, the number one movie domestically is Star Wars Force Awakens with 900 million almost.
I thought you just said that that Endgame.
They surpassed
number one.
Avatar domestically, but worldwide, Avatar still wins. They're at 2.7 billion.
So instead of recruiting people to help you with a Memorial Day parade on Monday, you're
wasting
defending
it
a
on
movie.
this because of you. This is what you get, and you made me sit here for 2
And we
hours.
can't figure out why he doesn't have a girlfriend.
Do they inflation adjust those numbers? Because
Ouch.
back in the day, you could go to the castle for $1.25,
No.
and now it's like $18 to go to a movie. So I wonder if
Adjusted
that-
for inflation, the
have to have a
official
special key to
record
go to
holder
Castle.
is Gone with the Wind, $1.82 billion.
That was the only movie they made that year. All right, Mike. Did we forget anything?
Everybody loves to see a dog die.
You want to sell somebody a house?
The Memorial Day parade will have the FC Tucker guys out there, and it probably will not be Mike McKown.
See, this is the problem. Is it is tough to make that recovery. I'm gonna try to do it for Guffey this year because I love the man, but there's a 15% chance I don't come off the mat. It's tough.
There are brand new bright yellow FC Tucker shirts, and I probably won't be in one.
Hey, do you want to announce your sponsorship of Juncos Racing and the yellow and
I bet
and black?
Ricardo would take a 50 at this point. He needs more duct tape.
Yeah,
UFC
I may
Tucker
or may
Chevrolet?
not have called FC Tucker Corporate and said, "Hey, I think we need to be on the side of a car," but I don't think they
Newcastle was
listened
on
to
the car one year.
There was the City of
City of
Newcastle
Newcastle
special
was.
for it was Joseph Newgarden, was it not?
Yes, it was.
And
Sarah
it's the Sierra Fisher team.
me. Yep.
Yeah.
My thing is for a new guy that is actually going to show up to the race, not like Dakota told us he was and didn't. I want you to come over and I want you to go under the grandstands in the main straightaway, and you have to get fried rice from the lady in the vending tent. It is the best fried rice in the world. It is somewhere short of $40, but it's the best fried rice in the world, and that should be your takeaway for the Indianapolis 500. If you come find me, I will buy you fried rice.
Wow, that's a $40 value.
I'm finding Mike.
This is the guy who says he hits the porta pot every 5 minutes for a while. So watch out.
Hey, that's fine. I'm just going to sit at the porta pot and just wait on him to come.
All right,
Say
you'll
that might
find
be
me.
the reason why he's in there.
final thoughts, Zach. What did we forget? What do we have to clean up?
I don't know. Just when you're there, just look around and soak it up. It's an interesting event, and you'll never see anything quite like it in your life. And be thankful you got there after Florence is gone, because she was my least favorite part of the. My goal is to get there after Florence, but before Jim Neighbors.
Florence Henderson used to sing "America the Beautiful."
Yeah, and it was not. my goal is to be stuck in security.
The celebrities are off the charts this year for people that are coming to the race.
Yeah, Matt Damon's going to be there.
It's Matt Damon.
I'm Matt Damon.
Christian Bale, Tom Hanks. We've got Dale Jr.
And Morissette's going to be. Who else is going to be there with Tom Hanks?
Kelly
Good Morning
Clarkson.
America.
Yeah. Al Roker's coming to town. They're going to broadcast live from the track on Friday, I think. It's going to be interesting. So big names. NBC is going above and beyond.
Yeah,
Danica Patrick has been doing color commentary.
She's been there almost.
It's on Channel 13. Well, it's not going to be on Channel 13 live, but when it's on later in the day, it'll be on Channel 13 this year, not Channel 6. For the first time.
Set my DVR for ABC.
For the first time in history of being televised.
Will 13 have the awards banquet as well?
No, I hope so.
do.
I hope so. If that's on, that's very entertaining as well.
It is.
You want to get to know some of the drivers and their personalities, like how weird Will Power is. Watch the awards banquet because he just went off the rails a bit last year. But
It's good times. Dakota, this is where you apologize to the fans for not doing your job and following out the things we do. Just tell everybody you're sorry for last year, and then for 2020, we'll make it all right.
I will never apologize.
We'll let you off the hook this
I'm
year.
not sorry.
We'll bring you in
At all.
2020. I need you to put it in your calendar.
It's not going in my calendar.
Give me your phone. I'll put it in your calendar for you.
It's okay. You have control of my laptop right now.
I'm very, very effective.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it would be neat to go see, but it'd be hard to walk away from my own traditions.
That's the thing, is that Memorial Day is everybody has a tradition. And
I
that's
know.
what they do.
We had the tickets last year, and then we went down to the camper because we were going to be.
That was a mistake you made as you went down there.
We were just going to go down
abstain from
Friday.
attending.
So where is
and it
this
was fun.
said camper?
On Brookville Lake.
Okay. All right.
And we were we got down there Friday night and looked at Audrey, and I was like, we're not going, are we? And she's like, unless you really want to. And I was like, nah. So that's whenever I texted Chase and was like, you guys want my tickets? He said yes.
And Chase is going to go. He'll go again. All right. My final thought, I want to give a shout out to your brother Jared. He got me started with another podcast, Dinner with Racers, and
most amazing podcast.
If
you're a motorsports fan,
it's pretty cool.
Listen to and even if you don't know who the drivers are that they're talking to,
they're
got
just
some
great
sports car
stories,
guys,
personalities.
They find the most interesting human beings. And I met those two guys. Jared and I drove up. We met him at Indy last year, and Sean Heckman and Ryan Eversley.
One of them sounds exactly like James Hinchcliffe. I have not listened to the Hinchcliffe episode yet, but one of them sounds ridiculously hinchy.
And yeah, probably Eversley.
Ridiculously hinchy.
And then we drove up to Road America. We drove to Wisconsin just to see them do a live podcast, and they're fantastic. But if you want to hear some great stories from motorsports, from all different types of motorsports, it is a fantastic podcast, and you'll be binge listening before you know it.
It's what I've been doing. I've been going. Rick Mears,
Robert Wickens.
I've not done the Robert Wickens one
Mario
yet.
Andretti's a double.
I did Bobby Unser. I listened to Bobby Allison.
Bobby Allison is a spectacular one.
That was
great quote
fantastic.
from Bobby Allison. Next thing I know, that guy is hitting my knuckles with his face.
There's Dr. Terry Trammell was a fantastic interview. He is a surgeon who put people back together, basically.
But he
started as a photographer.
Yes, he also did a lot of the footbox construction and the engineering of trying to save these guys'
I think
legs.
his first real famous work was Rick Mears got his feet messed up in a wreck, and they were going to fuse his ankles at this hospital. And he's like, "Get me to Indy." And Trammell fixed him up, and he drove after that and can walk. And
Dismore too.
Yeah, he will fix people's orthopedic injuries that nobody else thinks can be fixed.
Yeah. They want to amputate, and he keeps them going.
Yep.
Dakota, back in the day of film, your film would go to the darkroom and be processed, and they'd get it out on the AP wire or whatever. The second person that got to see your film was Dr. Terry Trammell, because he wanted to make blow-ups of it and see how the car compacted against the wall and what parts came off and what parts stayed on.
He and Dr.
Oh,
Olvey.
wow.
He and Dr. Olvey pretty much spearheaded
It's one of my
modern
favorite books. Steve Olvey's book.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've read it, and spearheaded what's now modern trackside safety for drivers. In terms of IndyCar has its own group of medical people that travel with the series to every race, and that wasn't normal. It used to just be, well, we got Jim Bob from the local EMT station, and he doesn't know what to do when somebody's hit a wall at 200.
Rapid Response is the name of that book. Yes. But yeah, the Paul Page episode was fantastic. They did one with Joseph Newgarden, so if you were tweaked by him, go check that one out. Long form, basically, they just sit down and they have dinner with somebody and talk through it all. Really good. So anyway, give that one a listen. It's my suggested podcast. And even if you're not a race fan necessarily,
great people stories.
Racing, so much of this is not the technology. You don't have to know a gearbox from an engine to understand this stuff. It's all about personalities. And that's so much of the emotional connection with sports is not about, hey, yeah, the Mets won 5-2. No, it's because I like Bobby Bonilla, right? Like it's about the personalities and you just follow it. And IndyCar racing is a major league sport based right here in our community with connections that go so deep that, there are guys that used to race cars in that race that were built in Henry County. Like you've got deep roots here. So it's cool. It's 45 minutes down the road. It's worth it, worth your time. And when you start checking it out, you get into it and it builds year after year after year and you get hooked. And it's about the speed's cool. Obviously it's phenomenal.
The hair stands up on your arms at the start of the race.
But for a lot of us, it's just the personalities and the people that are involved and that's the emotional connection you get to the event. So you don't have to see a car.
No, you don't.
So anyway, check it out. We'll see you all next week.
Thank you for listening to the Boss Hog of Liberty, which is part of the We Are Libertarians Network. I am Chris Spangle, and I am the founder of this network, and I invite you to listen to all of our shows, which you can find at WeAreLibertarians.com or by searching for these in your podcatcher. The flagship show is the We Are Libertarians podcast, where we apply libertarian principles to current events. The Brian Nichols Show is a conversation amongst Republicans, Democrats, Libertarians, Independents, as they talk about what is happening in the news. And we have many other podcasts like The Chris Spangle Show, Upward, The Cost, Raw Audio Politics, Miranda's World, and Tad Talk, which is quite a ride. So check all of these out. Go to WeAreLibertarians.com and you can check out all of our great podcasts. Thanks for listening. Thank you for listening to the We Are Libertarians Network. Get our other shows at WeAreLibertarians.com.